for more details.
Weather brought to you by Mazda Heating and Cooling and Bryant, keeping you comfortable year-round.
A flash freeze and snow will lead to tough travel today. An additional 1 to 3 inches of accumulation will be possible. Temperatures into the single digits heading into this afternoon with wind chills 20 to 30 below, winds gusting as high as 50 miles per hour. With your Storm Team 27 forecast, I'm Alex George.
This report is sponsored by the Cheesecake Factory. Give the gift of Cheesecake Factory. Through December 31st, get a free $15 bonus card for every $50 gift card purchased at thecheesecakefactory.com or at any of the Cheesecake Factory restaurants. Visit thecheesecakefactory.com for more details.
All right. Good morning, everyone. This is the Dan Rivers Show. I am Joe Danyi, sitting in for Dan today. My final day on this stretch of making a little bit, political discourse a little different, giving you guys the liberties to talk about this stuff a little bit differently. And we had some fun the last couple of days, just kind of mixing it up a little bit. Woke up to some, blizzard-like conditions and the weather not optimal for enjoying a weekend outdoors for sure. We're going to check in with a good friend, Alex George from WKBN. How are you doing?
Hey, good morning. You know what? I've had better mornings. I'll be honest. It's been a little bit busy in the Storm Team 27 Weather Center.
Yeah, you were up early. I was watching your updates this morning over on social media. And have you slept much in the last 24 hours?
Not much. I think my alarm went off at about 12:40, and at that point it was still raining. So I've seen truly almost everything since I've been up this morning.
All right, so tracking this storm, I'm a big weather nut, by the way, so I love watching what you guys put out. And so watching this thing come in, the models changing over time, how's this thing changing and evolving?
It's so far done pretty much what we've expected. I think a lot of eyes were on that big temperature drop, and we absolutely saw that. When I came into work this morning, we were at about 40. We're now at about 5. So that happened. We saw the rapid freeze up. I'll be interested to see some of the snow totals coming out to see how much snow we truly got. But so far, things looking right on course.
And those storm totals, what are you guys expecting at this point?
So I think a lot of spots probably saw maybe an inch or two overnight. I've got another 1 to 3 in the forecast today. It's going to be hard, though, when we look at what happened because the winds are such a big factor, and it's going to take all that snow that's sitting nicely in your yard and blow it all over the place. So it may not even look like you have an inch on the ground just because it's blowing everywhere.
Yeah, and you might have 2 foot in front of the door with a snowdrift.
Exactly, yeah. And, we talk about blowing snow often, but I think it's a term that people don't understand fully. Maybe I get a lot of questions about blowing snow. What do you mean? Well, when you hit a patch of blowing snow, you're going to know it because it may not actually be snowing from the sky, but the winds pick up that snow and blow it, and it can drop visibility severely. And that's something that is going to stay in the forecast not only today, tonight, but into tomorrow too. So things not looking great heading into the holiday weekend, unfortunately.
So as people get off work today, and I'm assuming people are going to be traveling, what's the footprint on this thing? What should we expect as people go south and east and west of us? Is it pretty dismal everywhere?
If you're traveling regionally, this thing pretty much taking out much of Ohio and PA, kind of giving the same situations like we're seeing here in the Valley. I've been trying to keep an eye on flight updates out of Cleveland and Pittsburgh. And this was such a massive storm system. It impacted so much of the country. So air travel, not only today, but the next couple of days, I think is going to be, not that I'm an air expert,
Sure.
but I think things are just going to be so backed up as the system continues to move. Now it's continuing to move off to the east. So it is going to be winding down by Christmas Day locally. It's still going to be very cold, but things should be better at that point.
Now, are these kind of events like your Super Bowl? Does it get you amped up a little bit that there's so many interesting, exciting things happening with weather?
So that's a great question. Scientifically, it's cool to see. Our temperature drop. Let me just look at the numbers really quick. So at 5 a.m., we were at 30 degrees. Right now we're at 3. So, that kind of temperature drop is just so cool. But I am such a worrier at heart. So when I'm giving the forecast, I am truly worried about everyone who has to go out on the road. So scientifically, I enjoy it. I wish everyone could just stay home and enjoy a snow day. I don't want to see anyone have any car troubles or get hurt when it comes to weather like this.
Well, in these situations, I kind of watch you guys when you go on social media. You guys get major attention when you go live and bring these updates. So people are seriously interested in it for sure.
Well, weather is something that impacts everybody. Everyone has an interest in the weather, whether they're traveling, to go visit family or friends, or whether they have to go to work. It's something that everyone has an interest in. So, yeah, people really kind of tune in with stuff like this.
All right, Alex, thank you so much for joining us and giving us updates. I'm going to tell our listeners to stay tuned to you guys as you bring updates throughout the weekend.
Of course, and I hope everyone stays safe and enjoys the holidays. Stay warm.
I appreciate the information. That's Alex George from WKBN Weather. And, we do all want you to stay safe. And so if you don't need to travel on the roads today, please don't. There's some ice underneath all of that snow. And, the less cars are on the road, the easier time the cleanup crews are going to have to get treatment done. And I know, like, with super low temperatures like that is not an easy pursuit to keep the roads treated well anyhow. So I don't think the conditions can get better until conditions change in the future sometime. So just if you can stay home, do. I was out yesterday doing my shopping, and you have two things that occur at the same time, right? You have a blizzard that rolls into town, which causes people to stock up on supplies and run out to the store and get the stuff they might need. And then you have the Christmas holiday coming up this weekend, where you have same thing. People go and grab the supplies and whatever. So it creates these conditions where you have a ton of people on the roads to stocking up. And so just be careful, everyone out there. And before I left, I said we had a conversation with my wife about high winds mean the likelihood that we're going to have a power outage at some point during this weekend goes up. So while you still have power, let's gather up all the tools and utilities that you'd like to have in case you have to go a couple hours until power line crews get to transformers popping and lines breaking and heading to the ground. So stock up on some. The heat's going to be the big one. In our house we have a fireplace, so we got we cordon off one of the rooms that has the fireplace on, put blankets up, and staple them to the ceiling to kind of create a small space that we can keep warm enough so that we don't die. So we're ready on that front. But extended, like what it makes you realize is how sort of like centralized, or we have all of our eggs in one power basket. And I think going into the future, we have to consider decentralizing those things and spreading out our availability to create power just separate from what the power company can supply you, because our grid is aged. Proved a couple times that it's not as trustworthy as it could be. And, I think with technology, what you're seeing here is that we're courting some of these alternative energies. And it's a slow process, and there's a lot of criticisms that to be had as we, kind of earn into those technologies. But, I can foresee smaller individuals and smaller companies participating in the production of power, and then using current infrastructure, being able to pump that power back into infrastructure. So instead of it being like one big central power station, that you have, thousands of people that are, buying their own technology and being vendors to be able to sell to the state and the companies that, distribute the power. And that way, you have a lesser likelihood that, one bad thing happens somewhere. And, just like in the production of electricity, but you also have the production of fuels, that if something happens in distribution, you get these big spikes that, just wreck the economy. And so I think, what we need to do is, I go on motor home trips, right? So I'm always thinking about, like, when I get somewhere, how do I plug in? And if I can't plug in, how do I keep the thing warm? And if I can't keep it warm, how do I get electricity? And so I have all of these contingencies to be able to, keep a aluminum box going down the street and keeping everybody alive inside. And so, like, we use technologies like solar. There's solar panels on the roof that charge a battery. We have a DC system. We have an AC system. We have battery, we have battery storage. We have LP. So pretty much through a gas generator, we have an LP furnace. We have electricity that, comes up a 50 amp breaker. So pretty much it's the Swiss Army knife where, you no matter what the conditions are, we can figure out a way, to still, get through it. And, homes that are 100% electrical that don't have a generator backup or even, some solar additions are pretty much on the hook and saying, okay, well, I got one option and I'm screwed if this option falls. And so I would really like to see in the future a lot more of these alternative energies, not to be such a, I don't want it to be such a political topic where, people are disagreeing that that windmills and solar just aren't, dense of enough of production to be useful. When, I've proved many times you have two orders here. You have number one, production, right? So individuals can throw a couple megawatts of solar power on their roof and sell to the power grid. And then you have consumption, where we can figure out ways of our technologies and the appliances and the things that we use to keep consuming less and less. We went from 60-watt bulbs to 13-watt bulbs. We went from computers at 400 watts down to 250 watts. We went from laptops from down to 90 watts. And so we're doing more and more with less energy consumption. So we, at the same time, we could be more on our own island where we're responsible for our own power generation. And we, every once in a while, buy some extra capacity from the power companies. And I could see that happening. If someone took, when I was a kid just coming up in business, there was a company that did hydrogen fuel cells. And so they sold this thing where you put this little box on the back of your house, and the only thing it does is it produces power. It's like as big as an air conditioning unit. It costs $30,000, and it supplies your home's electricity usage for, 10 years or whatever it was. And I thought, wow, everybody's going to have that one day. Would you run all of this infrastructure and wires when you could have just your own power thing on the back? And the output is water, and it's safe, and it's not all that expensive in comparison. I mean, yeah, you got front end costs, but it's, why aren't all of these on the back of people's homes? Or, you have you see some of the farms that have the wind power. You have homes that are now putting roofs up that have solar power. So I think all of this stuff has a chance to get us our interest when we centralize things, there's always downside risk to it, because you don't have whether it's like decentralizing it as in, you buy all of your stuff from Amazon and you hope that Amazon always does the right thing, versus spread your shopping over 15 different companies and make them all compete against one another. One goes rogue and you just sort that rogue one out and let the other 14 of them fill in the rest of the deal. And it's a self-satisfying, it's a self-correcting type of equation, where when you have one company, like, you got all your TV from a cable company, and now you have your TV can come through 15 different services. So that decentralization, I think, makes everything, it makes me happy for sure. 330-729-9977. Let's talk to Joe. Joe, you're on the Dan River Show. How can I help you?
Hey, I'm doing okay on this cold weather morning.
Yeah,
how are you?
I'm doing very good. Thank you.
Hey, as far as the power generation, the solar, the windmills and all that, I'm thinking diversify. I'm thinking, when the sun's shining, use it in good places like maybe Arizona, Hawaii, I don't know, all over the world in the hot spots. And when the wind's blowing, maybe. But we cannot get off fossil fuels. We have basically 5 or 6 sources of power. Wind, solar, if that's the way people want to go. I think we should use it where it's applicable. But on days like today, I don't think it's going to work. I'm driving in my car and I can't keep my heat high enough because it's cold, the wind's blowing, and if I shut it off, it cools down in 5 minutes and it's iced over. So we really need to think about this, but I think diversification is, we use all of it. Why would we put all of our eggs in one basket?
Amen to that, Joe. I'm totally there with you. Just it's one tool in your tool belt. You don't pick a favorite tool. You use the tool that makes the most sense, right?
Correct. I just don't get it when they just keep pushing one way. Let's use every tool that we have in our toolbox, so to speak, and use it where it's applicable. For our most where it's an advantage to us.
Yeah.
I just don't think we should go down one road, and I think it should happen on a free market enterprise with free market economics. That's my thought.
All right, Joe, stay warm out there and have a Merry Christmas. Thanks for checking in. Appreciate it, bud.
You too.
All right, take care. And he's absolutely right. I mean, when it gets political, then somebody picks a favorite where, fossil fuels are the enemy and solar is the rescuer. Well, the data doesn't play out on the data side. I want fossil fuels because they're cheap and they give economies, especially in economies that are struggling. It gives cheap energy to people to pull themselves out of their conditions. And this is not just in the United States, but we have poorer countries that, we went through the dirty revolutions. And because of those dirty revolutions, we prospered. And we can't begrudge countries from going through that same process. We can aid them and we can teach them the technologies to do it a little better and easier, but they're going to use it to become prosperous just like we are. They're just a little behind us. 330-729-9977. You could text me at 333-1570. You're listening to The Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Hi there. I'm getting paid to talk to you, and yet I'm the most boring person I know. Isn't that unfair? Yes, it is. Of course, you could join me. Just start a podcast with Spreaker from iHeart. If you've got something to say, they'll help you monetize it. And I bet you've got more to say than I do. I have literally nothing to say, and I'm loving life. Spreaker.com. That's Spreaker.com. Get paid to talk.
Canfield Rhino and Truck Accessories in Canfield is your connection for all of your truck accessory needs. We specialize in Rhino spray-in truck bed liners and crown rust protection. You can get them both, along with custom wheels, lift kits, accessories, right here locally in Canfield. Call Canfield Rhino and Rust Protection at 330-702-8888. Our expert staff can help you with any truck and Jeep accessories. Call Canfield Rhino now at 330-702-8888 or CanfieldRhino.com. That's CanfieldRhino.com. The
mentors of Big Brothers Big Sisters make a crucial difference in children's lives.
My big brother has helped me, just being a better person, having a better attitude about life.
Today, Big Brothers Big Sisters needs more mentors, especially men, to help make that difference.
Having a big brother in my life, it means a lot. He's like somebody I really look up to, something that I want to be like him one day.
Become a Big today at bbbs.org.
Computers, copiers, and phones are the lifeline of your business.
Hi, this is Tom Reevely, President of Team Office Technologies. Call the Team Techs for complete IT management and support. You'll avoid problems and disruptions on your computer network, VoIP phones, and copier multifunction devices, so you can get back to the business of running your business.
Avoid downtime with malfunctioning equipment. Give Team Office a call today at 330-792-3100.
Let Team Office do it for you. Team Techs to the rescue.
Computers, copiers, and phones are the lifeline of your business.
Hi, this is Brian Higgins, Vice President of Team Office Technology. Call the Team Techs for complete business IT management and support. You'll avoid problems and disruptions with your computer networks, VoIP phones, and copier multifunction devices, so you can get back to the business of running your business.
Avoid downtime with malfunctioning equipment. Give Team Office a call today at 330-792-3100.
Let Team Office do it for you. Team Techs to the rescue.
Did you know that you can save up to half on your wireless plan when you switch to Consumer Cellular? They offer unlimited talk and text with a flexible data plan starting at just $20 a month, with the same premium coverage as the nation's largest carriers. Plus, their award-winning customer support makes switching a breeze. Go to consumercellular.com/radio25. And for a limited time, get $25 off when you use promo code radio25.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Go to 4hims.com/joy. At Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation and discreet shipping if prescribed. You'll love your results. To start your free online visit, go to 4hims.com/joy. That's FORHIMS.com/JOY.
All right, I got your Storm Team 27 forecast. Today we got a high of 15 degrees with snow showers. Saturday we got a high of 9 degrees, 40% chance of snow showers, and then Sunday 14 degrees and another chance of snow showers. So I'm sure you're waking up this morning to see that it's cold, it's windy, and there is snow on the ground, so be safe and careful out there. It is currently 2 degrees here in good old Youngstown, Ohio. I'm going to hit some of the text messages here real quick. This texter says, molded fiberglass company, the company that molded the first Corvette bodies, was the Ashtabula company that Trump stiffed. Yesterday, you misrepresented what Trump did. It was not because of the weakness of their contract. A contract can only get you a judgment if the other party is willing to honor their contractual obligations. Please stop being an apologist for a sociopath with no sense of responsibility. I didn't know a lot about the that instance, so I probably didn't give it its due. I was using as an example of the dirty and shady methods of getting out of those obligations, and everybody kind of knows he was a dirty player. You read his book, and he would outmaneuver. And honestly, what should happen in the marketplace when you have a dirty player that tries not to pay you, your reputation should make it so that it's really difficult to deal with a person like that. They're known to be someone who shafts people, and then you're sort of like ostracized from one of the vendors. I mean, but if you and I appreciate you calling in. That is good information. And so if I feel for that company up in Ashtabula, at the same time where I bet you that kind of stuff happens all the time with big players who just bully smaller companies around, and vendors wander into those territories not knowing that they're about to get hosed. And I've been in business long enough. There's some players even in this area that will take advantage of you, and when it comes time to pay the bill, do everything in their power not to pay you. And it's rough. But that's part of business. So I appreciate that information. Those of you over on Facebook are super active over there, so I appreciate the conversations that are happening in the background. We got Adam over there. Adam, good morning. Carter again, Jeff Blackstone, Jerry's over there, and Anthony. I hope you guys are enjoying, the feed. If you're listening terrestrial, you can carry me around in your pocket by visiting Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, all of those things. We're broadcasting today's show. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad everybody is staying safe and warm. So this person on Texter says, good morning, Joe. I believe Biden looks like Jeff Dunham's Walter. Merry Christmas. I appreciate it. Thank you. And this one says, MFG has had as many as 13 manufacturing facilities in America. These aren't bumbling rubes. Your little anecdote should have brought you to a different conclusion. Trump is a dishonest person, for sure. And I'm not excluding and making the charge that he's innocent. I'm saying all of them are equally as dishonest, and some of them are smart enough to make it seem like they're trustworthy and honest. Trump doesn't have that filter that actually makes him believable as an honest person. And so, most of the people that I know that support Trump, they're not doing it because of his nobility. It's that he punches people in the mouth, and you want that scrapper on their team. Nobody's ever said, you know what, I think Trump is just a good, honest dude, right? And so I'm not that player. Again, I'm a very central libertarian. So the more we disarm even these people from the conversation, it should be more about us. I mean, there are way more better normal people than there are better noble politicians. So my goal is to take power and focus and energy away from these people, not constantly go back to them to find their faults and then give them more stuff to do. They're terrible at it. They're inefficient. They don't have a good end product at the end of the day, but yet some of you feel like giving them more and more duties. I'm the opposite. They're terrible people that fall victim to the same thing that all of the rest of us do. Quit asking them to do stuff because they're not better than you. They're not more noble than you, and they're not more capable than you. Power's with the people over here, and I think we do a much better job at solving problems. 330-729-9977. Text me at 333-1570. You're listening to The Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
You know what sounds good sometimes? Just a good sandwich. And I'm going to recommend Ben's Restaurant. Ben's Restaurant, one of our longtime sponsors, offering batter dip scrod fish sandwich, a mushroom steak sandwich, a grilled Cajun chicken breast sandwich, and a steak sandwich. Yeah, and it doesn't stop there. They've got the grilled Reuben, they've got the grilled chicken breast sandwich, a shrimp basket. Hey, it's really reasonably priced. And just think about sandwiches when you go to Ben's Restaurant. Ben's Restaurant, 224, just east of Berlin Reservoir.
Some things can wait. Decorating for the holidays, shopping. Hey, there's always next day delivery. But if you're 50 or older or live with a chronic condition, untreated COVID could be deadly. And if you don't get treatment within days, you might not be able to. So, got COVID symptoms? Talk to a doctor and get treatment right away, because it just can't wait. We can do this. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Hello, young man. What would you like for Christmas?
I want a baby Yoda, a remote control car, and
well, how about some news, weather, and traffic? I'll even throw in some...
Wait, did you just bring me in here just to make a promo about your radio station?
Well, news is important.
What a tool.
The ultimate tool for information and conversation.
I love listening to you. You guys have made me a fan.
570 WKBN.
Chaos at the nation's airports ahead of Christmas. A massive winter storm canceling more than 3,400 flights. Seattle's SeaTac Airport just closed indefinitely due to ice.
Cheyenne, Wyoming dropping to 50 degrees below zero wind chill. Those temperatures making road travel treacherous. In Washington state, a major multi-car pileup on Interstate 90. Further east in South Dakota, part of 90 had to be shut down, leaving more than 100 vehicles stranded on the highway. All of those people had to be rescued. And grim news for train and bus travel. Both Amtrak and Greyhound saying many of their routes have been impacted by the weather.
ABC's Oreen Shaw, FedEx, and UPS warning of weather-related package delays. The January 6th committee's final report is now public with a referral of criminal charges against former President Trump for inciting the insurrection, recommending he be barred from public office. And a government shutdown deadline at midnight tonight, but House lawmakers are set to vote on a $1.7 trillion spending bill to avert it. I'm Derek Dennis, ABC News.
And we have breaking news.
Keep up.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
With what happens next.
Issue executive orders.
Push through his agenda.
On 570 WKBN.
Weather brought to you by Mazda Heating and Cooling and Bryant, keeping you comfortable year-round.
A flash freeze and snow will lead to tough travel today. An additional 1 to 3 inches of accumulation will be possible. Temperatures into the single digits heading into this afternoon with wind chills 20 to 30 below. Winds gusting as high as 50 miles per hour. With your Storm Team 27 forecast, I'm Alex George.
This report is sponsored by the Cheesecake Factory. Give the gift of Cheesecake Factory. Through December 31st, get a free $15 bonus card for every $50 gift card purchased at thecheesecakefactory.com or at any of the Cheesecake Factory restaurants. Visit thecheesecakefactory.com for more details.
The music we listen to all year long. The anthems that were our soundtrack for 2022. And the stars who made the songs we love will all be celebrated March 27th, live from Los Angeles.
Let's get it started.
Get ready for our 2023 iHeartRadio Music Awards. Coming back to Fox.
Ron Burr for Dr. Figliano and his Centers for Hearing Care. 80% of the folks out there that have hearing problems never get them addressed. It's hard to imagine, and I don't want you to be in that 80%. I want you to have a great experience, get that problem fixed, and that journey starts at the Centers for Hearing Care. So what you have to do, whether it's you or someone in your family, is pick up that phone and make a call to the Centers for Hearing Care, 330-779-8096. The Centers for Hearing Care. The beginning to good hearing starts there.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Dan Rivers Show. I am Joe Danyi. I hope everybody's staying warm and safe on this snowy Friday morning. Everybody's situated and ready to go for the weekend. Any of you have to go out and get last-minute gifts and shopping for groceries for your parties and whatever, be safe. Go slow. Give people a lot of grace. Some of our cars are not as good in the snow as others, and we got to take our time and go slow. Build that time into the schedule for today just so that you're not rushed and that you can take your time and be safe. So 330-729-9977. You can text me at 333-1570. This texter says, finally, point of use power generation, natural gas, electric generation at the home. Yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact that we enable people to adapt and take care of themselves. We create the technology that if you want to protect yourself and you want to go off grid, going off grid is not a conspiracy. Going off grid means that you're providing for yourself and you're servicing your own needs without the use of other people. So you put together food shortage, like some of us on that do a good bit of preparation for hypotheticals. So I have an envelope that says if I would die, here's the 9 steps that you got to take on that day after. So I went in my imagination and I focused on what that day would be like, and I assembled things that make that day a little easier for obviously people other than myself. But same thing, your electric goes out for 6 hours. What do you do? Electric goes out for a day. What do you do? And you have these preparations that provide a little more comfort than what would happen. So, and I love these technologies that enable people. They're small scale. Politicians think big scale. They think of really dense provisions for lots of people, right? And individuals, like some of you, will get crushed by the profile of what those dense provisions would be. Now, you can focus on you and works out best for you. So if you've got access to natural gas, or you've maybe got a gas well on your property, you can run that gas well to a generator and you can basically produce your own electricity, and then you don't ever have to you're not taxing to the infrastructure that we already know is being overtaxed because too many people using that public utility. So some of us that are capable, we can break away from that, and we don't even have to satisfy all of our needs. You don't have to go full, disconnected off grid. You could just do a percentage of that, and the percentage that you don't have to buy from the power company is then available for other people, and then the producers can come more in line with keeping up with, they don't necessarily have to keep increasing capacity. If we wean some people off of there who can do their own thing, that frees up capacity for people who can't. And then, you don't have to build at so many more big, dense production facilities that take 50 years to build. You can, in a weekend, install something on your back patio that can fill in some gaps. And I'm a real big fan of solar, and I really want to love solar, and I really want it to play a bigger role in solar. But we need to be able to have products that are a little bit easier and more practical to use. So let's just say if I put solar panels, it costs me 20 grand. I'm able to maybe cover 50% of my electricity. I put a nice battery in there. In the off-peak hours, the battery stores it up. I run off mostly my battery, and every once in a while I have to pull off something from the grid. It takes me about 15 years to recoup my investment. It's not a moneymaker, but I'm self-sufficient. That means power goes out, I'm still running off my stuff. It's worth the 20K in order for me to, dismiss myself from that grid. But nobody really wants nobody ever thinks that the solar panels are probably the biggest end game. I foresee anything that's facing the sky could be made of solar panels or solar materials that capture some of the energy that's coming down from the sun, create the reaction and create some of that. And I figure most of the innovation is going to play in, your car's, the skin of your car is going to be made out of a film instead of a solar panel. It's going to already have cells in it that, is part of your paint work. But if it faces the sky and there's that big ball of energy up there, and we figure out different ways of extracting some of it. Here's another technology that's kind of interesting. They actually have solar panels that they plan on assembling and launching into space. Because you got to think of it, our atmosphere does a good bit of, diffusing the energy and the light so it doesn't kill us and fry us, right? So it's doing us a big favor because it's making life possible on the surface. But then when you're trying to then take some of that energy and make it electrical or make it high, the denseness, you then have to take that diffused energy and then focus it again into usable energy. Well, if you get above our atmosphere, then you have much more, much more energy. And what they're doing, and this is a big undertaking. This is like taking several hundred launches, putting this apparatus in the sky. It takes a larger, slice of energy, it puts it into microwaves, beams it back down to the surface because the microwaves will penetrate the atmosphere without losing so much of its so much of its energy, and then we can use those microwaves, and then we can focus it so that if there was an area that needed energy coming down from that, we can do line of sight, send our microwaves directly towards the receiver, and then that receiver is using what once was in the sky, and then creates electrical energy. And I could see much more of that as we occupy more space. SpaceX has brought the cost per kilogram of space cargo way down, so some of these more far-fetched things become even commercially viable, not just a government program to see if something works, but private companies might say, hey, there might be an end this. Let's put some private capital behind it. And then that innovation curve goes gangbusters. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm hoping for. 330-729-9977. Let's do some more text message here. If your refrigerator conks out, don't put food outside. It will blow away. That is true. And speaking of refrigerators, nothing to do with your comment here, but that's one of the few I have a couple of solar panels that head into a charge controller. The charge controller charges a battery, and then once the battery is charged, I can run electrical things off of an inverter, right? So I got a nice little setup. It's more test and experiment than it is practical usage, but I was trying different things and plugging different things into it to see how long I could make them run on a long term. And the refrigerator is one of those things where I cannot figure out how much infrastructure I would need to put in to keep a refrigerator running for 24 hours, because it's just such a high consuming, with the mechanics. It has a compressor and has a little electric engine in there. It just uses a lot of electricity. Of all of your appliances, that's probably one of your biggest. When I was first getting into the energy sciences, I've discovered this thing that was called a Peltier device. And basically what it would do is it looked like a little piece of ceramic, and it had electrodes on both sides of the ceramic. If you applied heat on one side, right, the other side would be cooler, and it would create an electrical charge. And so it got me thinking, maybe we're not using as much surface area as we possibly can. Like our whole house skinned with Peltier devices. When it gets super cold outside, the difference in temperature between inside and outside would produce an electrical charge, and then we could run things off of differentiation of power. But anyway, there are some like those little coolers, those the battery powered or the low energy ones. They're basically Peltier devices. If you add electricity, then it will give you a one side hot, one side cold, and you can actually use it as a little cooler or refrigerator. So I don't know why I went down that path, but thanks for that comment. Appreciate it. 330-729-9977. Car manufacturers are converting to manufacturing EVs because it uses less parts, which equals less overhead and more profit. No engines, exhaust, stators, and alternators, or starters, that should be. I would buy an EV if the price was competitive and greater range. It would be a win, only powered by solar panels attached to the home. And those are all good points. There are far fewer parts in an electric vehicle because you have a big AC motor. You have most of the stopping power. I'm speaking of Tesla, of course, but you have regenerative braking, which basically uses your kinetic energy and uses the energy running backwards to reclaim some of that energy to put back in the batteries, which means that you don't have a brake against a metal piece that is constantly used to slow you down. You use that still, but far less. So your brakes end up lasting the whole life of the ownership, rather than, replacing them every couple years or so. You still have tires, but I was stupidly, I forgot to drain the gas out of my snowblower. And so I'm in the midst of taking apart the carburetor and whatever. And I was just thinking the other day of the genius that is in mechanical engines still blows me away, that people worked on that and figured out how to make it work so well. And even the downsides, like I don't know if it's fuel injection, but whatever's in the carburetor that mixes the fuel and air gets gunked up sometimes. I'm thinking, man, this is not an EV problem. Like, you don't have to worry about mixing of liquid fuels, right? And the advancement means that I have even a bigger appreciation for the mechanical side, because these were people's brains that made this stuff happen. And when you get into it and look at it, it's pretty genius if you think about it. And so, but EVs are just like the tools we talked about earlier. They don't make sense for a lot of people, and some they do. Like, my wife is the perfect candidate for an EV. She drives 20 miles a day back and forth to work, and and she doesn't do high range long trips, and so it is a best commuter that there is. She doesn't have to go to the gas station. She doesn't get even close to hitting the range, and it's just on the shorter term, it's more expensive as the introduction cost. Longer term, it's about equal. When you start factoring all the stuff that you don't have to do, all of this stuff, you notice this theme that it all has a larger sticker price, and it takes you a while to recover the investment that you made at the beginning. So if you think it's about, if it's a 1-for-1, it's not that more expensive. Then your comment in here was that if they came down in price, I don't know that, I don't necessarily know that they need to. They probably could. We're in that phase, when flat screen TVs used to be about $10K and nobody would buy them, but some people did. And because some people did, they wanted to expand who they were offered to, and they kept lowering the price to make more sales. And then they came down to like, $400 for something that used to cost $10,000. Well, had it not been for the people willing to pay $10,000, we would have never got to the point where we're paying $400. So that's the part of the acceptance and the innovation curve that we're probably at. Maybe your $30,000 standard car becomes a $20,000 car with being an EV. I mean, there's a lot of features that are in a Tesla, so that probably cost more. But if you took a value car, something that no bells, no whistles, let's just get it done where you hit the gas and it's a glorified golf cart, then you're probably looking at more like 15,000 that they could get by and still have a pretty decent profit margin. But I believe that there's a couple of EV manufacturers that are even coming up to Lordstown that are in that ballpark where they're just value versions of an electric vehicle. So we will see. 330-729-9977. Let's see. Text messages. It did sound like you were shielding for Trump. You talked about money going to the Democratic Party, but you leave out the fact that Republicans receive just as much or more. They use dark money. Then you talk about Trump's taxes, but left out the fact that he lied to us for years, just saying. And that's fair. And I didn't, on my bullet point sheet of things to talk about was not to lay down some kind of reason or, defend somebody. I think I was responding to something where it was brought up. So I don't like any of them. If it's fair to say that if I shaded one side more than the other, I assure you that there's shade that on the other side that I could be equally as passionate about. So I hate them all. Like, you don't have to worry about it. There's no favoritism. I hate them all. And I want to talk about them less. I want them to matter less. I want them out of our lives, and more individuals where I talk to actually interesting people who are good people who sacrifice their own resources and their own prosperity to help other people. Those are the people that I want to put money into, and time into, and energy into. I want their stories to be known. I don't want these people who use the apparatus of government to enrich themselves. There's nothing inspiring about that. Go ahead and look at the people who come in with, coming from $30,000 jobs, become a politician and become millionaires. I mean, come on, you know what they're doing. It's the science. It's the business of government is what they're in. And there's nothing inspirational motivation. I'm here talking you out to hate these people more and take some of the power away from them. Give it to individuals who are actually good people that are down the road from you. You can see what they do every day. They don't have to put on, an act for you and prove and trick you into thinking they're good people. You can actually tell because they're in your community, helping people in your community, and you live next to them probably, and you're ignoring them right now because of idiots like Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Okay, so bring it local. Man, that was good. 330-729-9977. Do the math. You don't need supplemental battery storage. Most EV batteries can handle the electric needs of a home for 4 to 5 days. Yeah, you're probably right. And just as part of the math, if the first logic that people are going to use is whether or not it's if it's a full replacement where you could just do replacing your needs versus a supplemental where you're going to need still some options. So if, every once in a while, like I rent U-Hauls on a regular basis, right? When I need something, I go rent them. And in a future economy, if you bought something for short trips that give you range of 200 miles and you go on a trip that's 400 miles, well, then there's a car out there that gets 400 miles. And when you need it, that 0.1% of the time, just go rent the car that does the thing. It's not worth owning something for the exception. You own something for the rule. So thank you for that text message. Appreciate it. Morning, Joe. I wonder if the same guy that thinks Trump is dishonest believes the Bidens or these other politicians are being honest with him, really. And like I said, these tribal politics, that's probably the case. And it's annoying because, when it's your team, you have a tendency to defend what your team does different than the other. I think one of the callers yesterday, I took exception to. I didn't mention it because it wasn't that big of a deal. But this is a good example of it, where we create these asterisks on our principles, where we have a principle that we're pissed off about, but we want our principle just to apply to our enemy. We don't really want it to accidentally hit somebody that we agreed with. So, like if President Trump at the time did some crappy stuff that caused incitement as the president, and a senator said some crappy stuff to cause incitement, both suck. And if you put an asterisk and say, but they're not president, it means that you're creating a little exception where I guess as a principle, it's okay to say crappy stuff when it's just easier to say, hey, you know what? Let's try not to say crappy stuff that makes people crazy. Okay. Across the board, applies to everyone. It's a good rule if you can make it universally apply. I hate those little exceptions. It's a little, it's an irk. It irks me a lot especially when it's so widely accepted and you don't know you're doing it. And I use that analogy when you go to a game and somebody throws a yellow flag on your team. It's BS every time. You're in the stands and every time it's BS, right? But if it's on the other team, it was the most egregious penalty and everybody should be suspended from that team. That's just how we think as human beings. And I don't want to guilt you into it. As soon as you know that happens to you, you just got to put yourself in check every once in a while. Know that your brain's going to go there. And when it starts going there, pull yourself back. We can adapt through these things. As soon as we are honest about who we are, we can keep ourselves under control. So thanks for that text. Appreciate it. 330-729-9977. You can text me at 333-1570. You're listening to Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Youngstown Computer Commercial Services. We fill the role of your IT. No matter what your size, we tackle problems before you feel them. YoungstownComputer.com, the Valley's technology company. Call us 330-259-7278.
Hey, did you get that proposal done?
It can wait till tomorrow.
Some things can wait.
Should we book those flights to see your folks?
We can do it later.
But untreated COVID isn't one of them. If you're 50 or older or have a chronic condition, COVID can be deadly. Got COVID symptoms? Talk to a doctor and get treatment right away, because it just can't wait. We can do this. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Spruce up your home this holiday season with a look that will stop Santa in his tracks. Visit Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods for the place you love most. Since 1960, thank you for trusting Baird Brothers. From our family to yours. Merry Christmas.
Have you wondered about ESH investing? Tune in Sunday, 10 a.m. on 570 WKBN to Your Money with Leo Duprilli as he speaks with special guest Timothy Miller. Tim is the product manager from Alliance Bernstein's Sustainable Thematic Portfolios. Leo and Tim will talk ESG investing and how you can make your investment choices reflect your environment, social, and governance beliefs.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Carrie, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs. How Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Did you know that you can save up to half on your wireless plan when you switch to Consumer Cellular? They offer unlimited talk and text with a flexible data plan starting at just $20 a month, with the same premium coverage as the nation's largest carriers. Plus, their award-winning customer support makes switching a breeze. Go to consumercellular.com/radio25. And for a limited time, get $25 off when you use promo code radio25.
iHeartRadio's 'Twas the Night Before Christmas podcast is here, just in the St. Nick of time, and in immersive 3D audio, bringing you closer to the story than ever before. Featuring John Bon Jovi, Elton John, Santa Claus, and more.
'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse.
Grab your headphones, open the free iHeartRadio app, and enjoy the timeless Christmas classic read by your favorites on one of the most magical nights of the year. Download the free iHeartRadio app for all the music, radio, and podcasts you love this holiday season.
All right, I got your Storm Team 27 forecast. If you woke up this morning, it is snowy and it is windy and it is cold. Friday, a high of 15 degrees, 100% chance of snow showers. We probably could get another couple inches today. Saturday, only a high of 9 degrees, 40% chance of snow. And then Sunday, high of 14, another 40% chance of snow. So bundle up, stay safe out there. It is 1 degree here in good old Youngstown, Ohio. Over in the Facebook, the chat, we have a couple of going back and forth. And this is sort of like what I'd like the template. They're talking about food and they're talking about entertainment. And you have people that would war about sort of political things can somehow find a way to be civil when it comes to food. One of my favorite guys, Morris Ray, he's such a good dude, such a big heart, such a caring guy. And he and I don't have a whole lot to talk about politically, but I so admire his passion about how he feels. And so I watch him kind of light up when it's his wheelhouse, when he talks about things that he is passionate about. And so like when he really gets himself all upset and it really dug into a topic that you can tell is bothering him, I will change the topic to food, because I know that dude loves food, and you just watch him turn into another person where he's not upset anymore, and it is a passion of equal substance. And so I think we could maybe solve the world's problem by talking about things that aren't so divisive. I mean, it's fun to do this every once in a while, but I could not imagine having to do this every day of my life and, ward off people getting overzealous about things that don't really matter. I mean, they matter in the grand scheme of things, but not on your daily. You're not going to take the information you have here, go out into the world and do something about it. You're just going to complain tomorrow the same way that you did today. And it feels like that to be a little frustrating. I'm a doer. I like to have purpose, and that feels like as disconnected from purpose as you can get. 330-729-9977. Joe, some of your alternative power innovations might be great, but most people can't afford that upfront charge like you can. But so long that people keep adopting it it becomes the standard. It becomes a tool that is equal to the current tool. It's only expensive when there aren't a whole lot of people buying it and there aren't a whole lot of people producing it. Like those frontline innovators, they've got R&D costs. They've got all of the versions of it that didn't work well. And same thing with the people who buy it early on, same thing. But as soon as it gets proven out, and soon as like the information, because there's some investors and manufacturers that'll wait till technology has a 99% likelihood before they push money into it, right? The innovators are cool with a 50% chance, a coin flip, but these late adopter people, they can't stomach the chance of loss, and so they just don't do it. So, but when it gets pushed into that, it's up to the early adopters to fuel it and fund it and keep it pure, where it's not a political thing, it's a merit thing. Does a job, just share me the data. Don't tell me what to do with the data, just give me the data. Let me decide. Keep policymakers away from it and just give me the data. Okay, regenerative braking isn't a Tesla innovation. Otis Elevator invented regenerative braking more than 100 years ago. That is cool. Thank you for that tip. I appreciate that. And yeah, I know they use it. I don't necessarily think never mind. 330-729-9977. Hub motors are not a Lordstown motor innovation. The Nissan Leaf has been in production with the exact same product and manufacturing for years. Thank you. Appreciate that. No favoritism. I try not to, and I'll spread my hate equally. I promise. Joe, you have convinced me that watching paint dry can be interesting. Cool. I'm glad I'm adding to your arsenal of things to keep you entertained. Oh my God, please stop. I know what you are, but what am I? Third grade retorts. I have no idea where that came from, but okay, indulge. So your caller's argument, Trump isn't dishonest and a sociopath because Biden. Please stop texting and exposing your logical limits. Oh, if you want to go tit for tat with me, just call the phone. I will go up against you any day of the week. So bring it. 330-729-9977 or text me 333-1570. You're listening to the Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. We'll be back.
The Venture X card from Capital One gives you premium travel benefits, perfect for seeing Taylor Swift The Eras Tour. Presented by Capital One. Oh, I do love her. Earn 5 times miles on flights and 10 times miles on hotels through Capital One Travel.
Enjoy your stay in Suite 13.
Whoa, 13? That's Taylor's lucky number. The Venture X card from Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
The mentors of Big Brothers Big Sisters make a crucial difference in children's lives.
We have a lot in common. I like robotics and she's a software engineer.
Correct. Today, Big Brothers Big Sisters needs more mentors to help make that difference.
She gave a woman role model to me. I didn't really have one of those.
Become a Big today at bbbs.org.
From the Columbiana Cadillac Buick Chevrolet Studios, available everywhere with the iHeartRadio app. Now, number 1 for podcasting, 570 WKBN, Youngstown.
From ABC News, I'm Derek Dennis. Severe winter weather coast to coast. The Seattle area struggling with snow, ice, and cold.
Quickly, Seattle has overtaken every other airport in the world to have the most canceled flights, beating New York's LaGuardia. The runways in Seattle on this busy travel day are too slippery with ice. Alaska Airlines, which has a huge hub in Seattle, is canceling all flights in Seattle and Portland at least through midday.
ABC's Alex Stone, more than 3,200 flights canceled nationwide. Meantime, FedEx and UPS warning of weather-related package delays just 2 days before Christmas, but for some it may not matter.
And experts say a lot of people might actually be consolidating their shopping into a single day just because it's so expensive to make multiple trips. And also because just about everything is more expensive, what we're seeing is a lot of people are going with gift cards this year because even in the worst of inflation, a $50 gift card costs you $50.
ABC's Trevor Ault, a midnight deadline tonight to avert a government shutdown, but House lawmakers are on it, set to vote on a $1.7 trillion spending package today. A New York congressman accused of fabricating his life story says he'll speak out next week. That as more details come out about him.
Santos helped his party clinch a narrow majority in the House, making history as the first openly gay Republican to win a House seat as a non-incumbent, telling USA Today that he's never had an issue with his sexual identity in the past decade. But new revelations that Santos finalized his divorce with a woman less than 2 weeks before launching his first bid for Congress in 2020, something he has not talked about publicly. He also claimed to be a Wall Street financier and investor who worked at Goldman Sachs and Citigroup, graduating from Baruch College. But when we reached out, they all told us that name did not match their records. His lawyer calling it all a campaign to smear his good name.
ABC's Rachel Scott. FTX co-founder Sam Bankman-Fried on house arrest at his parents' California home on charges he failed his cryptocurrency exchange. You're listening to ABC News.
Tri-state area travelers are dealing with dangerous driving and weather conditions from a major winter storm hitting just before the holiday weekend. The system is bringing snow, sub-zero wind chill temperatures, and high winds overnight into this morning. Wind gusts over 40 miles per hour may bring down trees and power lines and can also cause power outages. Winter storm warnings are in effect across the tri-state area, and a level 2 snow emergency has been issued for Hamilton and Butler counties. Level 1 snow emergencies. This means while roads will not be closed, motorists are discouraged from traveling unless absolutely necessary. ODOT is doing what they can to improve road conditions.
Heavy wind and precipitations moving into our area tonight. At the same time, the temperature sharply drops over 40 degrees. That means thick, heavy snow is going to fall fast with almost zero visibility. ODOT will be out in full force trying to clear out the highways, but their job can't start until the snow does.
The rain is going to start on this storm, and that would simply negate anything we would put down ahead of it. And then that rapid flash freeze is what we're really worried about. Everything is going to be wet, and it's going to instantly freeze, and there's really nothing we can do to get ahead of it.
Matt Bruning with ODOT says even after the snow stops, the wind is going to blow it back out onto the road. His advice, stay home if at all possible. I'm Ricky Ucchino, News Radio 700 WLW.
Ohio's next Supreme Court justice will be Joe Deters, who's from the Cincinnati area. Governor Mike DeWine announced Thursday that he appointed Deters to serve as Kennedy's replacement. Usually this is an elected seat, but there will soon be a vacant spot. Chief Justice Maureen O'Connor will retire on December 31st, and Justice Sharon Kennedy will move up to take her place. Governor DeWine commented on the decision to appoint Deters yesterday.
I chose Joe Deers because I know him. I trust him. He has an outstanding record of an understanding of the law.
I'm Zach Curry. We're a country of so many voices, yet some still struggle to be heard. Let your voice be heard. News Radio 570, WKBN.
From the Honda store in Boardman, home of 0 down, 0 due at signing, and 0 payments for 30 days.
Dangerous driving conditions, probably going to be the case for the rest of the day. You've got blowing and drifting snow, limiting your visibility, and things are really slippery on the roads. A crash on 680 northbound before South Avenue and some down power lines in Canfield, closing Niles Cortland Road between Leffingwell and Fairground Boulevard. I'm Faith Nezovich in the Total Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by the Cheesecake Factory. Give the gift of Cheesecake Factory. Through December 31st, get a free $15 bonus card for every $50 gift card purchased at thecheesecakefactory.com or at any of the Cheesecake Factory restaurants. Visit thecheesecakefactory.com for more details.
Weather brought to you by Mazda Heating and Cooling and Bryant, keeping you comfortable year-round.
A flash freeze and snow will lead to tough travel today. An additional 1 to 3 inches of accumulation will be possible. Temperatures into the single digits heading into this afternoon with wind chills 20 to 30 below, winds gusting as high as 50 miles per hour. With your Storm Team 27 forecast, I'm Alex George. This report is sponsored by Lowe's.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Dan Rivers program. I am Joe Danyi. I am sitting in for Dan while he vacations over the holiday, but he will return at some point next week. And so you have me going into this holiday. I hope everybody's bundled up and keeping safe. We're going to go right to the phones, 330-729-9977. Let's go to Jake. Jake, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Yeah, what was your name?
Joe.
I missed your name.
Yep, my name is Joe. Joe.
Joe. Hey, Joe. Yeah, I was really calling you about like some small application solar panels. I thought I heard you mention that you have something, but let me make a comment first about this January 6th thing. I was down there. I'm old. By the time I walked over there, I made it to like the Treasury Department, which is 200-300 yards from the Capitol. We caught the last part of Trump's speech. I didn't hear any of this stuff about go down there, break in, hurt these people, act crazy. I didn't see any of that. And I'm going to tell you something. The cop told me there was 500,000 people there. There was 4 cops there I was talking to, and who I really got into a long conversation with was the security dog handler for the Treasury Department. And he was an ex-Marine. He had handled dogs. I kind of handled dogs for a while in Vietnam. So I'm back and forth with this guy for hours. It was a very cold day. These are patriots that believe that something was, I don't know, awry with the election. Not so sure now because I see who these people are voting for. But that's pretty much all I wanted to say about it. Oh, there was one thing about that I thought was interesting. There was a very large contingent of Chinese there and a very large contingent of Vietnamese. They had their flags waving. The Chinese were handing out all these pamphlets about how bad China was, et cetera, et cetera. I just thought I'd mention it to you.
Okay, and you said you had a solar panel comment as well?
I beg your pardon?
Yeah, the solar panel?
Yeah, that's why I called you. I bought some solar panels from Harbor Freight. I think they were on sale for $100 a piece, and I bought like 4 of them or something. And I bought the inverter and all that. But I have a tendency to procrastinate. My son went to school to be an electrical engineer. He went like a year and said, it wasn't for him. So he was an electrician for years. So I gave him all this stuff, and I was asking him to, put together like a 4 or 5 panel thing, maybe something movable and all that. And he's not buying into it. He's not, even though his friend paid like $17,000 at these solar panels for his house. Now, what I want to ask you is, say if you bought 4, 5, 6 of these panels and you set them up with, I don't know how many batteries you'd have to have, and so they would continuously run like, you have lights that are on all the time. Outside lights, I do anyway. There's something in the basement and whatever. And would it do that? Or how much can you actually run off of them? I'll tell you something that really kind of got me going into this. I was over in West Virginia, and the guy had a little truck there, that's why I stopped. And he had a solar panel on the ground and one on the porch. So I'm like, what's this? And he said, I made this one. And I should have asked him how he did that, but I didn't. And they run lights and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I went back later on and I got talking to his wife, and she told me that he loads shells and he has gunpowder in the basement that's kind of damp, and he has these lights shining on this stuff to keep it from getting damp, but it runs 24 hours a day. How effective and efficient are these things that, I guess Harbor Freight probably not selling the best products, even though I like Harbor Freight. I just want your comment on that. Is it worthwhile to spend, I don't know, $1,500, put together something like that and charge your phone, maybe run a radio and some of your outside lights, et cetera, et cetera? What do you think?
All right. Well, thank you for that call. Appreciate it. And, we've done our experimenting on those small scale things. Here we've effectively run maybe a couple of lights for, an overnight. So on my setup, I regularly keep some stuff plugged into it. So it takes the battery down through its cycle, recharges it the next day. You could run some lamps on it and nothing. You're not going to run your whole house off of a setup that small. You need to have way more panels than that. So the best practices that I've seen are where people are in a place that has lots of sun exposure. In Ohio, we do not have lots of panels where they have enough capacity that if they flip the switch on, they could actually run their entire home off of the power that's generated, and anything additional would be used to store in the batteries, and then the batteries would then dump the energy back into the system when it's night. You would have to have a fairly large battery bank and a fairly large farm of solar panels. Anything less than that, and it's going to be more like emergency type of stuff where I want to be able to run a couple of lights if we lose power for an extended period of time, or I want to run something that I can use to heat or cool something on small scale. And so it's not a very practical exercise with a small setup, but it's interesting. And, through those uses where you have consumers that are just buying up solar panels from like Harbor Freight, it creates manufacturing that will create the things that we're buying, which means that they'll get cheaper and hopefully they'll get better, sometime in the future. And then it will make sense. So could we power our entire home off of 4 hours of usable sunlight, per day? Sure. And through innovations, our electronics and appliances are going to use less electricity, and the batteries are going to get cheaper as we do this. So in its short exercise, my answer is no, it's not a practical thing, just like an emergency thing. But in the future, I foresee it coming, getting better. So thank you, Jake. Appreciate it. Let's go next to Danny. Danny, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Yeah, good morning, Joe. Energy, Nikola, Tesla, and windmills. You talked about transmitting energy through space, like microwaves from the solar panels and the orbit down to the ground. Nikola Tesla, in the early 1900s, he had theorized about that. Whether he ever actually built an experimental device that would do that, I don't know. But I learned that years ago on Coast to Coast at night. And the guy was pretty innovative and thinking outside the box. And that goes back in the early 1900s. And I think Tesla died in the early 50s, maybe. I thought I heard something like that.
Yep.
But he was a brilliant man, and he worked with Thomas Edison for a while, but they came to a disagreement over AC and DC and all that stuff. That was a great story, too.
Oh, heck yeah.
And then, my windmill's working great today. But about music, Coast to Coast had a bumper music on about a week ago. Van Morris, one of my favorites, my generation music from the 60s, 70s. And he's singing a duet with his daughter now. And boy, she got a beautiful voice, and they did a bumper music of it. And I haven't got the CD yet, but keep an eye out for that. If anybody likes Van Morris, check out his daughter and him singing together. A slow ballad, like a love song, but pretty cool music. I always thought.
Now, so you have a windmill? You have a windmill up there?
No, I'm just joking.
Oh, okay,
but
gotcha.
there are a couple of people that do have one, but I heard this high winds, they lock it down because they can't handle the stress of high gusts of wind. I don't know, maybe they can't run it over 25 mile an hour or 30 miles an hour, something like that.
Yeah, I've heard that it'll burn up the bearings because it'll overspin faster than the bearings are limited to. So.
Yeah, I'm heating with wood, so I'm good. The lights can go out. I'm okay.
All right, Danny. Well, stay safe up there and have a great Christmas.
Yeah, you too.
All right, thank you so much, Danny. Appreciate it. 330-729-9977. Nicola was on to a lot of this stuff that we're going to, see come into existence today. So, in the pursuit of transmitting, voices using radio waves across large distances, formulating that electricity can be maneuvered in waves just like radio frequencies can. He was totally working on having energies be focused and made real dense so that you can transport it. And then there was a portion where there was like a death ray where if you took energy and put it in a small space that it could be used as a weapon. And that's where the story kind of falls apart, where we don't know what happened next, because I don't know why the trajectory went into formulating a weapon when it was originally on, free energy for everyone, because we could do this. 330-729-9977. Let's go to Bobby next. Bobby, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Well, Denny's probably still listening. Denny, it wasn't Van Morris, it was Van Morrison.
Van Morrison, okay.
Yeah, because that's way before your time. I know that, Joe. Hey, the caller before him, did I understand right that he said he was at the January 6th fiasco?
Yeah, that's what he said. He said he and 500,000 people were at the Capitol.
And what he talked about, what I see on TV, evidently is two different worlds. And I'm going to say one thing, too. Sure. As far as him being there, being arrested, I think the man should be committed to an insane asylum. Have a good holiday. Bye.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. You have a good holiday as well. So it's interesting to hear those perspectives from people who were there and at what it's like, and versus how it is depicted, and creating that contrast. Wasn't there. Don't really have much of an opinion on it. 330-729-9977. Let's go to Rose next. Rose, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Oh, I'm so glad I got to be the caller, Joe, from the guy that's talking about January 6th.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what I want to talk about.
Sure.
So here's my question. I would love the opportunity for somebody that has any kind of intelligence to ask Mitch McConnell why he put in his bill to fund that that ridiculous terrorist group that came into this country, never helped their community. The woman that's in charge of BLM, the president, it's a charity that is fraudulent. It's been known that she bought $1 million mansions, yet Mitch McConnell wants to give this group money. The Capitol, let's look at the Capitol. They got stormed. So they stormed it, 5 deaths occurred. But BLM turned over and burned down police stations, which are considered government buildings, police vehicles, which is government property. They burnt down innocent buildings, and I want to know what American thinks that Capitol and the democracy is any better or more important than innocent businesses that were burned to the ground and innocent people's lives, including police officers that were ambushed over this group. And our government's going to give them money. Who do we go to fight back and stand up for our tax dollars? Where it goes, and why we would give it to a fraudulent government, a fraudulent charity, is called civil RICO. They are buying votes from the Black American culture, and the money isn't even going there. I've talked to people that are Black in Cleveland, Ohio, that have told me themselves it's fraudulent. That money never was used to help their communities. It was used to further put the wealth in the president of that group, who bought $1 million mansions. It's a fake charity. It's a fake organization. Why the hell would the Republican Party want to give them a dime? Why aren't they being investigated? Why? They should be charged for hate crimes against police officers, for God's sake. Nobody's standing up. Everybody's afraid to talk because the left has gone too far left. The John F. Kennedy Democrats have gone. The Me Too woke movement, you could have it. That is not America. That building that they targeted on January 6th, as far as democracy goes, they should have burned it to the ground, because I'm going to tell you something. There is no more democracy in this country. They ruined it with this Me Too woke movement. They're talking about, they burned down police stations. They killed police officers, police vehicles. They overturn people's businesses with looting and robbing and fires. That's criminal activity, and we're going to fund them? Both parties should be ashamed of themselves, and we shouldn't. If they can't get along, we're not going to get along. And we need to put competent people in there, or take their salaries off of them, their pensions, their hospitalization, give it to veterans that actually did something for this country.
All right, Rose, I hope you have a nice holiday. Thank you for sharing your sentiments there. That was a impassioned plea, I'm assuming. So 330-729-9977. You can text me at 333-1570, and those texts have been coming in, so I'll make sure I dive into those as soon as we get back from this commercial. Those of you over on Facebook, the conversation went political just for a couple minutes. Let's see. I'm watching this in real time to see if it goes back to talking about food and entertainment, because that's where they had some common ground, and it was actually enjoyable watching these warring personalities have some common ground. 330-729-9977. You're listening to The Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Hi there. I'm getting paid to talk to you, and yet I'm the most boring person I know. Isn't that unfair? Yes, it is. Of course, you could join me. Just start a podcast with Spreaker from iHeart. If you've got something to say, they'll help you monetize it. And I bet you've got more to say than I do. I have literally nothing to say, and I'm loving life. Spreaker.com. That's Spreaker.com. Get paid to talk.
Just about every month, I tell you that if you've ever thought about buying or leasing a Cadillac, you need to see my friends at Columbiana Cadillac, downtown Columbiana. You'll see the largest selection of Cadillac inventory in the area. CT4, CT5, XT4, XT5, XT6, and the Escalade. And look, we all know how fast vehicles are selling. So if you have an expiring lease or you want to replace your current vehicle, Cadillac Financial has some great financing programs for you right now. Columbiana Cadillac, downtown Columbiana, or ColumbianaCadillac.com, or call 1-888-Cadillac.
This holiday season, 12 strangers, 12 tales, 12 ghosts. A fiction podcast from me, Aaron Mahnke, starring Malcolm McDowell.
So, this is the afterlife.
This is the liminal space between life and the next chapter. This is the great in-between.
A chilling new collection of stories presented in immersive 3D audio starting December 14th, ending on Christmas Day. Listen to 12 Ghosts on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Some things can wait. Decorating for the holidays. Shopping. Hey, there's always next day delivery. But if you're 50 or older or live with a chronic condition, untreated COVID could be deadly. And if you don't get treatment within days, you might not be able to. So, got COVID symptoms? Talk to a doctor and get treatment right away, because it just can't wait. We can do this. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Want to get 7 streaming services for the price of 1? Sign up for a smart bundle that'll stimulate your brain. Featuring Curiosity Stream with the best documentary films and TV shows. Nebula for thought-provoking content from your favorite creators. And One Day University with the best lectures from the country's top professors. And so much more. It's perfect for families with all kinds of interests. And great content for kids. It also makes a perfect holiday gift. Now at 40% off, get all 7 services for only $3.50 a month. Sign up now at smartbundle.com.
Mega! Millions! The Ohio Lottery Mega Millions jackpot is at least $510 million. So I'm shouting it from my rooftop. Go play Mega Millions today. Then help me get down. And this season's holiday scratch-offs are here with over $147 million in total prizes. Get your tickets today. Lottery players are subject to Ohio laws and commission regulations. Play responsibly.
The Venture X card from Capital One gives you premium travel benefits, perfect for seeing Taylor Swift The Eras Tour. Presented by Capital One. Oh, I do love her. Earn 5 times miles on flights and 10 times miles on hotels through Capital One Travel.
Enjoy your stay in Suite 13.
Whoa, 13? That's Taylor's lucky number. The Venture X card from Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Some people got COVID and thought, well, that wasn't such a big deal. But you can get COVID again, and next time it could be worse, especially for those 50 and older, or with a chronic condition like heart disease or diabetes. But with an updated vaccine, you have better protection from COVID's worst outcomes. And that's a big deal. Find updated COVID vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. We can do this. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
All right, I got your Storm Team 27 forecast. I woke up to snow and cold and windy. Today, a high of 15 degrees, 100% chance of snow showers even later on this afternoon. Saturday, high of 9 degrees, 40% chance of more snow. And Sunday, 14 degrees and a 40% chance of snow showers. So keep safe. Stay tuned to 570 WKBN for more weather updates throughout the day and the rest of the weekend. Stay safe, drive slow. Look out for each other. All right, 330-729-9977. Let's go to Dale next. Dale, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Yeah, I was just wanted to put some comments in. I agree with Rose 100% going back to the political side. I think we're looking at a lot of hard times coming up and in the future for financial and everything. It's really amazing how things have changed so quickly since Biden came into office, and it's just amazing. It doesn't resemble any kind of America I ever lived in my life. I'm 57 years old, and I'm not sure, why it's coming to this or how everything's coming so falling apart from the years we had with Trump. I know a lot of people don't agree with him or his tweets on Twitter, but that's who he was. He wasn't a fake person, and like he said, he works in a system. He says he knows everything's fake and corrupt. And it is. It's fake and corrupt. And whoever has the squeakiest wheel or the best connections gets the most rewards in a day. That's the way I look at it.
All right. Thank you so much for checking in. Have a good holiday. Appreciate you being there. And I think what I felt when Trump was president, that we had an energy trajectory that we were going to be independent. And meaning that we weren't going to have outside sources that had so much leverage over our economy and what things cost and our citizens and what they pay for fuels. I felt like we were going to, if somebody would raise prices somewhere, we had enough infrastructure that we could just do our own stuff, and then we had no leverage over us. And I felt that was a really good position that we were heading towards. And I don't feel like that's the case anymore. I feel like we're going back and begging in front of the oil producers that are, thousands of miles away. And, when I read these articles, that I don't get that feeling that is the goal of the Biden administration. I think that's dangerous territory. Now, thankfully, whoever policymakers have made fuel, come down from their $5 highs, don't quite understand what they did. I know they used the strategic oil reserve for a period of time. I know that there was less demand in China because of their lockdowns, and I know all these other economic factors made that happen. But I honestly think that higher gas means that it might put more of an effort to make development and drilling and production happen here. I think that's the outcry from citizens, is we don't want to be dependent on other countries, especially ones that don't think real highly of us, because you don't think they're going to put the screws to us the minute that they get a chance. That's just from a security standpoint, that's just a bad position to be in. I almost feel like sometimes, though, that, let's just say you have a football team and you trade away your draft picks for the next 20 years, right? You got something good in the now, But then there's going to be a coach that comes here 5 years in the future thinking he's going to be able to do stuff. And he finds out all of these long-term deals and sacrifices that other people made where they took something you could have used and they spent it even before you got there. And I feel like in politics that happens a lot where we can't even negotiate well because of everything we've given away over the years. And it's limited our reach and what our influence could be. So 330-729-9977. We'll be back. This is the Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN.
Years ago, in 1921, the law offices of Johnson & Johnson opened our doors. 1 century later, we're still here, with our 4th generation proudly serving the legal needs of the Mahoning Valley. So if you're in need of solid legal counsel regarding business law, trusts, estate planning, or wills, call the law offices of Johnson & Johnson today at 533-1921. That's 533-1921. Johnson & Johnson, since 1921. Legal counsel for the times of your life.
Did you know that you can save up to half on your wireless plan when you switch to Consumer Cellular? They offer unlimited talk and text with a flexible data plan starting at just $20 a month, with the same premium coverage as the nation's largest carriers. Plus, their award-winning customer support makes switching a breeze. Go to consumercellular.com/radio25. And for a limited time, get $25 off when you use promo code RADIO25.
Our newsroom's a lot like Santa's workshop.
Well, don't you all look very busy in here?
Hi, Santa. I'm getting all the stories together for the top of the hour. And Jackie's over there getting the weather stuff.
Hi, Santa.
And Mike's checking on traffic. Not everyone's got a magic sleigh to fly over the backups like you, Santa.
This is true.
Decking your halls with news, weather, and traffic year-round. 570 WKBN.
Severe winter weather coast to coast, making for a travel nightmare 2 days before Christmas. More than 3,600 flights canceled nationwide. Seattle's SeaTac Airport hard hit.
The runways at SeaTac Airport are closed indefinitely now because of an ice storm hitting the area. It's not safe for planes to be landing or taking off. This adds to the travel nightmare unfolding as a bigger storm hits the Midwest and East. What's hitting the Pacific Northwest has Alaska Airlines, which has a huge presence in the region, canceling all flights in Seattle and Portland, Oregon through at least midday.
ABC's Alex Stone, FedEx, and UPS warning of weather-related package delays just 2 days before Christmas. A midnight deadline tonight to avert a government shutdown, but House lawmakers are on it, set to vote on a $1.7 trillion spending package today. FTX co-founder Sam Bankman-Fried on house arrest at his parents' California home under a whopping $250 million bond, facing charges related to his failed cryptocurrency exchange. I'm Derek Dennis, ABC News.
And we have breaking news.
Keep up.
Breaking news.
Breaking news with what happens next.
Issue executive orders.
Push through his agenda.
On 570 WKBN.
Weather brought to you by Mazda Heating and Cooling and Bryant, keeping you comfortable year-round.
A flash freeze and snow will lead to tough travel today. An additional 1 to 3 inches of accumulation will be possible. Temperatures into the single digits heading into this afternoon with wind chills 20 to 30 below, winds gusting as high as 50 miles per hour. With your Storm Team 27 forecast, I'm Alex George.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. At Lowe's, every pro is an MVP to us. MVP's Pro Rewards members visit Lowe's now and earn bonus points on select products and brands like Power Pro. Then redeem for Lowe's gift cards and more. Offer valid through 1/8/23. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any. Subject to program terms. Points expire 12/31/23.
Sky Roofing is the only name you need to remember for residential, commercial, and industrial roofing needs. Celebrating their 20th anniversary along with an excellent safety ratings, Sky Roofing is an authority on installing shingles, gutters, downspouts, and siding for residential customers, as well as installing and restoring commercial roofs. Contact Sky Roofing at 330-702-8000 or online at skyroofinginc.com.
All right. Well, welcome back, everybody. This is the Dan Rivers Show. I am Joe Danyi, your host, filling in for Dan, who's vacationing over this holiday. It's been a fun ride with you guys. You guys have been amazing on the texting and the calling, so keep it up. Keep going on things. 330-729-9977. Looking over at the Facebook stuff. Oh, they're still They're talking about food still. Love it. All right. You guys are awesome over there. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's go first off. We're going to talk to Gene. Gene, you're on the Dan River Show. How can I help you?
Good morning.
Hi.
How are you this fine morning?
Good. How are you?
Good. I want to give everybody there's an old Slovak blessing that I always give on Christmas Eve, but since you guys aren't going to be on, I figure I'd give it to you now.
All right, go ahead.
It goes this way. May the blessing of the newborn Savior bring to you and yours a blessed Christmas and a new year full of health, peace, and prosperity. And in the Slovak language, it goes, Na novo narodene, spasiteľ prinesie, ve me vese rodine, vele poznanie e poznanie, Vianoce Nový rok, ne vám prinesie veľa zdravia, pokoja a uzbeťu, veselé Vianoce a šťastlivý Nový rok. And that's an old blessing that I've been doing. I usually go around the houses every year, but with the weather like it is, I want to do it over the phone this time. But that's what I do.
All right, Gene, that was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us.
And happy Merry Christmas to, I think it's time that we stop fighting with each other and put the politics aside and figure out what we have in common rather than what our differences are.
100%. Gene, thank you so much. Appreciate you, brother, and have a great Christmas. And thanks for sharing with us. And take that honestly. I'm telling you, you could sit down with the person that you would disagree with Monday through Friday on policy and politics. You could sit down with them, find common ground, and be friends and talk about stuff that you can get along with. But as long as these people are allowed to keep us at odds with one another and keep polarizing the conversations, which stuff that we can't do anything about. It keeps us, distracted and unproductive. You're not doing anything about it. You're just mad. And don't be mad. Go take care of people. 330-729-9977. Those were directed to you. They were directed to the texted who using what about. Oh, okay. Sorry. I may have come at you and thought you were directing at me. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. Let's see. Is Michael really calling in today? No, he is not. He's taking the day off. Joe, this was for the texter that I felt was attacking you. Those were directed about. Okay, yeah, thank you. You're doing a good job. I know. I read that wrong, and that's that is the downside too about social media and being able to take voice inflections and mannerisms and figuring out what's happening. A lot of information gets lost on the texting and the emailing and the written word. So thank you for that. Please don't realize a neighbor not taking care of their property, you taking care of your grandkids because your son or daughter is broke and are unmarried. Your adult children living with you, these have a greater impact on your life than the border, Ukraine, Hunter Biden, gas and groceries, prices, and the Second Amendment, abortion, who's president. I think I understood that having, keeping your energies put into yourself first and then your family and then your community and going outwardly, these people that are on the national scene where you can see them and visually see them every morning and hear from them every morning, they don't matter in your sphere. What does matter in your sphere are the things that are closest to you, and that's where you put your energy. Like, you should not have time to care about Joe Biden because you've got so many people around you that are so much better than Joe Biden and President Trump or Donald Trump or any of those idiots, right? And I'll continue to call them idiots because I have a disdain for politicians. So there's some good ones in there, but the ratio is not equal. 330-729-9977. Solar is instantaneous, dark off. Let's see, winter lowers the flux density, loss of power. Yeah, and that's the case, honestly. Like, when you make these investments and you want to ratio it as being a 1-for-1 with having power, that's where you're going to go along. These are supplemental technologies at this point. So we're taking capacity off of the grid, right? We are not just throwing the grid out in the trash bin. These are things going to make the production of power to become more clean, right? Because you're in control. I mean, you're not going to set up a coal fire power plant in your backyard. That would be crazy. But you might not have you might have access to natural gas, or you might have access to regular gasoline fuel for an emergency generator and all of that stuff. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. When did we become such a third world nation? Do I now need to hunt animals for food and cook outside on a woodpile? Yeah, I honestly, I think we should do more of that. I think, again, the consolidation and having so much power be put into one thing. So for instance, like these factory farming, right, versus your local farm. The difference is that when you have the density, how they treat their animals, how they feed the animals, the pollutants that they create because of the density. Now they're feeding people and they're doing it very economically, but I would rather pay more money to a local grower, right? I could check out the conditions. Like if you really went to a factory farm, how much stuff do you think you would actually buy from that factory farm after you saw the conditions? So we're not dying. I mean, there's not a problem with food in this country. So I would think we roll things back a little bit and worry about a little bit more about things doing stuff on our own. If we consolidate it, it goes wrong. We pull back some of that power. We do it ourselves. We decide what's important to us as a priority and principle, and then we allow other people to do it as long as they adhere to our principles. But honestly, you would not, if you knew when we're doing these factory farms and the way that we're producing food, you would not agree that this is the best way of doing things, not from the environment's sake or our health's sake or any of that. So 330-729-9977. His Harbor Freight panels will charge this type of unit perfectly with pure sine wave inverter that runs $210, and it would work perfectly, and it will provide 6 to 8 hours of backup on a couple lights and a router / modem, etc. So yeah, in that capacity, I mean, and it's fun to assemble these different components and play with what capabilities it brings to the table. But when it comes down to it, it's a mathematical equation. You can go around and look at your electric bill and find out what your usage was, your consumption was over a period of time. Divide that out by the things, point at devices and figure out what devices in a crunch are necessities and ones that you'd probably not want to be feeding into, and unplug all of those ones. Now there's a device called a kilowatt, and I bought the surge protector. You plug it in, and then when you plug devices into it, it actually gives you the rate at which it's consuming electricity, and so you can make it tells you the amperage, the wattage, and it will give you the consumption rate of anything that's plugged into that. And it's helpful to know what different devices are actually consuming in electrical. When electric is free or really low, it's really low cost, and we don't really pay attention to every, watt hour. But when it's expensive, then all of a sudden, we care a little bit deeper. So I love that this conversation came up today. I love these kind of talking about these things. So thank you. Let's see. Powercast in Pittsburgh does charging of devices over the air. That will come, I'm sure of it, in the future, where we'll be able to pull down the energy waves that are flowing already from the air. But honestly, we're not taking advantage of a lot of the the energies that are already existing here. And that's why I like when kids play around with some of these technologies using like the waves in the ocean and the kinetic energy of you running and the heat energy and whatnot, and finding better ways of taking advantage of things that are already naturally occurring. Good morning, Joe. The only thing astonishing about January 6th is that it didn't happen sooner. And I'll tell you, I mean, that's a reasonable thing. The government is not so sacred that it can't be challenged. And when you challenge it, if you're dismissed, what do you think happens? Do you think it's satisfied? So I think if government wants to stave off more of pushback against things that you think are unfair or fraudulent or whatever, they need to have better answers so that you quell the curiosity whether or not it's being a straight up game, right? And I don't help things, and it's not my job to help things where my job is not to take pressure off of the government, right? And so when you say things that are not complimentary about the government, that's kind of your job as an American citizen. We're rebels, right? We're not government worshipers and lovers. So a lot of you who worship these things, these government entities, as if they were gods and that they were so sacred that they can't be challenged. I mean, you got to come off that, because absolutely they will use that against you and make you look foolish in the end, I assure you. Will windmills even work? The answer is blowing in the wind. See, and that's one thing I took away from doing these shows is I missed a lot of jokes that came through here. I read them straight up and tried to find out what they were talking about, and they were clearly making jokes. But my brain is about 80% logical, 20% creative or imaginative. So a lot of things will be processed logically first, right? And then I will sometimes lose the humor on it, especially if it's over the text words. So thank you. More whataboutisms. It's okay to treasonously storm the Capitol in an attempt to circumvent a constitutional defined responsibility because BLM. Yikes. Again, misbehavior is misbehavior as long as everybody treats it like it's misbehavior. And it is misbehavior. And that's the deal. So you got to call them as they are. On YouTube, you'll love it. Watch Kathy Loves Physics. Oh, I love physics, especially on YouTube. I did watch a video yesterday about fixing my my snowblower on YouTube. What a blessing it is to be able to, take something you don't know how to do and go research it and have it at your fingertips. That there's somebody that recorded themselves doing exactly what you want to do. It's so great. Rose said, "Burn the Capitol down," because doesn't that well define a scary group of people? Yeah, and should be a scary group of people. Lordstown Motors hit an all-time low of $1.10 this morning. Not anything any hater has said about Lordstown Motors caused this to happen. Was it like a stock sale, like a CEO sale and executive sale? I'm not real sure. If let's see, any NASDAQ listings. Okay, let's keep this going. 1 month ago, we were told we will run out of diesel fuel, whatever happened with that prediction. Interesting. I do remember hearing that we were 1 month away from Christmas transport coming to a grinding halt because of a lack of diesel fuel. Does not feel like there's a lack of diesel fuel here. So if anybody knows what happened, how we filled in that gap, if somebody did something about it, they're worthy of some praise because they took something that would be terrible timing for our economy, the Christmas season, and averted disaster. So whoever they are, thank you for making the diesel shortage not be a thing. So 330-729-9977. You can text me at 333-1570. I shared a YouTube video this morning about, it was Zuckerberg, our good friend, Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Facebook. And it was actually a commercial starring Zuckerberg, or was it? The star of the commercial was actually a caricature that was created by artificial intelligence, and they recreated his look, his mannerisms, his manner of speech in this commercial. If I didn't tell you that it was a fake, you would never know. And so technologies are being able to recreate the presence or the depiction of human beings. And if you watch this video, it's basically Mark Zuckerberg talking in a commercial that I don't know what group it was that used it, but think of the consequences if you can recreate a human being in every possible way, visually, audibly, and number one, entertainment changes. You don't have to hire an actor. You can just go create the actor and what people love about them. You don't have to actually pay them. They can just recreate them. And it's hard to distinguish between the fabricated version and the real version. And what does that mean from misinformation? You can get somebody, drop a 30-second clip of someone who you recognize and know saying something, and it would be really hard to, on the fly, be able to, correct that. And so a weird world is ahead of us when, the human, of course, I believe that if we're not already inside a simulation, that we soon will be, we will connect our brains inside something where our whole world just can be recreated with digitally and probes in our brains. And, we really don't have to live a real life. We'll experience it through our perceptions. But if that's the case, and human beings and experiences and visits and, history and memories and all that can be recreated digitally, then, I see that simulation concept is probably nearer than you'd expect. But that was interesting. Like I said, they're calling it the deep fake. And it's because algorithms and artificial intelligence are able to recreate human beings digitally in videos. And I don't know, it concerns me a little bit because everybody who's smarter than me has warned me about what end or what pathway this leads down. And it's not a good pathway. And so if we can't, and what it's going to take is taking a set of principles and deciding what we're willing to go along with and what we're not. And I think that on a lesser level, an easier level, that we can't agree on things like the definition of words and how a word should be applied. So the standards on language can't even be approached. Think about a philosophical standard about what we'll tolerate. And honestly, I don't see any smart people or anybody that's controlling public policy deciding how it's usually after the fact. So we'll let something happen and then decide after it's already happened what we should have done if we could have go back in time and make it sooner. Where if everybody's telling you that artificial intelligence are going to be able to recreate the human experiences, you could put that in a thought experiment and figure out how we should, as human beings, right, manage that, and what are the rules governing that, and how do we keep ourselves safe from that, and how we make it so that machines don't do what they're inevitably going to do. Anyway, interesting topic, more sciencey than I usually bring up on here, but I appreciate it. 330-729-9977. Text me at 333-1570. And in the next segment, I'm going to talk a little bit about Fauci. And we're expecting, probably going into this holiday weekend, that the Twitter files number 9, which is basically going to be outlining the coordination between the NIH, and Fauci and Twitter and other social media, where they were sort of like coordinating information processing and discounting some and banning some based on information that was passing through. It's interesting to me because I want to know what the real conversations were like when it wasn't publicly what was being said. Because I think Fauci is a brilliant guy. He's been around medicine and science for a really long time. But I think Fauci kind of took on a very public and political persona. So half of him I disagree with, and half of him I wish we would tap in and make use of. But it's in its current form, it's kind of like this Fauci monster, where a smart guy that we can't pull out his smarts because he's too political. I've always said that, when it comes to science, you want 3 different people. You want the people who gather the data that don't care what you do with it. You got some people that evaluate the data or look at the data, and you got the people who make policy based on the data. And you do not want those 3 people to be in one body, right? Because science it suffers because your data gets skewed because of all of the presence of those other 3 things. And so, this definitely breaks that rule set because you have policy, data, and strategy all coming from one guy's head. So we'll talk a little bit more about Fauci in that article. He's very disappointed that culture is waning from the science, in quotes. So we'll talk about that when we get back. 330-729-9977. Text me at 333-1570. You're listening to The Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Just about every month, I tell you that if you've ever thought about buying or leasing a Cadillac, you need to see my friends at Columbiana Cadillac, downtown Columbiana. You'll see the largest selection of Cadillac inventory in the area. CT4, CT5, XT4, XT5, XT6, and the Escalade. And look, we all know how fast vehicles are selling. So if you have an expiring lease or you want to replace your current vehicle, Cadillac Financial has some great financing programs for you right now. Columbiana Cadillac, downtown Columbiana, or ColumbianaCadillac.com, or call 1-888-Cadillac.
Money.
Don't leave cash on the curb. We're paying top dollar for aluminum, brass, copper, and all forms of steel and alloys.
Southside Recycling, Youngstown's drive-through recycling center, 98 East Florida.
Hi, once again, folks. This is Dan Rivers here to remind you that you can put Jem Young and Barnett Insurance Agency to work for you, just like I did. Jem Young Insurance and Wealth Advisors and newly acquired Barnett Insurance Agency. They service clients from their offices in Canfield, East Liverpool, and Alliance. They specialize in a wide variety of insurance solutions to meet your needs, whether you're looking for personal insurance, business insurance, or wealth advice. Jem Young, a proud representative of Grange Insurance.
At Premier Bank, the kindness we witness in our communities fuels our passion for supporting local initiatives, events, and projects. Whether we're donating our time or offering our resources, we know that it makes our communities stronger. We invite you to join us in spreading joy and doing good deeds. Learn more by visiting yourpremierbank.com/kindness. After all, we're powered by kind people and fueled by you. Premier Bank, member FDIC.
It's Ron Verb inviting you as always to check out Bernard Daniels on Railroad Street in Canfield. Whether it's windows for your home, whether it's a new patio door, perhaps you're looking for lumber stored the proper way so you don't have to sort through to find a straight 2x4, you'll find it all at Bernard Daniels on Railroad Street in Canfield.
The Venture X card from Capital One gives you premium travel benefits, perfect for seeing Taylor Swift the Eras Tour. Presented by Capital One. Oh, I do love her. Earn 5 times miles on flights and 10 times miles on hotels through Capital One Travel.
Enjoy your stay in Suite 13.
Whoa, 13? That's Taylor's lucky number. The Venture X card from Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Some people got COVID and thought, well, that wasn't such a big deal. But you can get COVID again, and next time it could be worse, especially for those 50 and older, or with a chronic condition like heart disease or diabetes. But with an updated vaccine, you have better protection from COVID's worst outcomes. And that's a big deal. Find updated COVID vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. We can do this. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
All right, I got your Storm Team 27 forecast. We got today a high of 15 degrees, snow showers, 100% chance. Saturday, high of 9 degrees, 40% chance of snow. And then Sunday, high of 14, 40% chance of snow again. And it is 2 degrees. So bundle up, stay safe out there. Or does that say -2? I think that says -2 on the screen. Oh my goodness, it's getting cold out there. Anyway, be safe, drive slow, look out for other people, extend a lot of grace to the people around you because it's going to the holidays. It's stressful and everybody's maxed out. So make sure we look out for one another. This person says that is not what was said about diesel fuel. There was a 25-day reserve supply. As long as the incoming and outgoing did not hit that, it would not be used. That was a reserve supply that would last for 25 days if everything shut down and they dug into it. It would run out in 25 days. People just have no common sense. They look at 2 or 3 words and they think they're geniuses. So thank you for clarifying that. So that wasn't a distribution shortage, but it was a reserve shortage. So thank you for that. And so that as I going into that last break, there was an article that says Fauci's warning to America, we are living in a progressively anti-science era. And that is a very dangerous thing. And I really don't believe that that's the case. I don't. But this says the nation's top infectious disease doctor insists that he still wants to write, make public appearances, and continue to shape research on infectious diseases. So he will continue to be a presence in the lives of his many fans and his equally zealous detractors. And so, my feeling is, like I said, I love science. I spend almost every day of my life in science and data and calculations, formulas, and spreadsheets, right? So I love collecting information. Now, the problem is that science has become sort of like the translation of data instead of the data. And I would rather not anybody tell me how I should feel about the data or what the data means. I don't need context on the data. Just give me the data. And I think that the translation of what science actually means, science is a verb. Science is where you probe things and figure out what's true and what's not true. And you don't arrive at science. Science is not an end result. It's a constant process. So I will tell you that leeches and bloodletting are not preferred methods of some things, right? But at a time, science thought that they were a good treatment for some kind of diseases or some kind of ailments. And then science kept probing at leeches and bloodletting until there was a better thing, and we just kept going on. Well, from today's perspective, it seems pretty silly. But at the time, when there was no other options, bloodletting or leeches were probably a pretty good deal. So science, to me, the use of science as to a scientist saying something that you don't listen to, I agree with that. We're going beyond that. The state of authority, when you have an authority where people do listen to you, and you misuse that authority, and then people don't listen to you anymore. It's not the science is the reason that they're not listening to you. It's the abuse of the authority. And so that's, we got to get that straight. Well, I want to use smart people like Fauci sometime in the future. But here's the deal. Science equals a business, right? So I knew a guy that lived in Utah, and he was one of the most brilliant people that I've ever met. We would have so many evenings, just hours and hours of talking about his research and what he comes in contact with. And I learned so much from this dude. And he was making probably about $30,000 working for a university doing cancer research, something I consider as being a huge priority, and the people are researching something that's killing people. That should be like top priority as far as finances. But the guy was not being paid a whole lot. And so he was participating in some of the research in hopes of getting published so that he could add that to his resume, and then somewhere down the line be hired because of those publications and those. So the institution couldn't give him money for the research, but private industry could give him money for his expertise somewhere. So he was basically setting himself up so in the future he could have enough credentials to be able to hired by the private industry so that he could be brought in as an expert or research for the private side of it. So what I'm illustrating here is that science equals a business. If you want to make a living at it, if you want to be, anyway, I'll come back, talk more about this. You're listening to the Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Satin Sound System, serving North America, Canada, and beyond since 1983. No job is too big or too small. From boardroom meetings and corporate events or concerts at Heinz Hall and S&T Bank Music Park, Satin Sound and Lighting Systems can do it all, including audio, backline, lighting, staging, and video projection. When you need state-of-the-art sound and lighting, go with the company the pros use. Get more details now at satinsoundsystems.com. That's satinsoundsystems.com.
And now for today's Roblox winter weather alert. iHeartland on Roblox has been walloped by a winter snowstorm. It is a winter wonderland. You can now ice skate at State Farm Park. In State Farm Neighborhood, you can compete in snowball fights, grab a hot cocoa and cookies, and more. There's also special events from your favorite artists and podcasters all month, along with scavenger hunts, exclusive content, and unique items. So enjoy the festive winter weather at iHeartland on Roblox. Head to iHeartRadio.com/iHeartland today.
From the Columbiana Cadillac Buick Chevrolet Studios. Available everywhere with the iHeartRadio app. Now, #1 for podcasting. 570 WKBN, Youngstown.
From ABC News, I'm Derek Dennis. Chaos at the nation's airports just 2 days before Christmas. Severe winter weather canceling more than 3,700 flights nationwide. Seattle SeaTac Airport closed indefinitely due to ice.
More than 3,000 flights have already been canceled, many more delayed. Airports working extra hard to keep those runways clean and clear.
ABC's Gio Benitez, FedEx and UPS warning of weather-related package delays. House lawmakers set to vote on a $1.7 trillion spending package today ahead of a midnight deadline tonight to avoid a government shutdown.
That must and should and will be done today. From hurricanes to wildfires, natural disasters, and the climate crisis are a growing threat to Americans across the country.
Maryland Democrat Steny Hoyer. The January 6th committee's final report puts the onus on the Justice Department to bring criminal charges of obstruction, conspiracy, and inciting an insurrection against former President Trump.
Mirroring their dramatic public hearings and offering some additional new details, making several recommendations, the boldest that Donald Trump and others who engaged in insurrection be disqualified and barred from holding government office. The committee's recommended reforms include changes to the law on certifying the presidential election and increased penalties for threatening that process and for threatening election workers.
ABC's Jonathan Karl. In Paris, unrest after a shooting at a Kurdish cultural center left 3 people dead. Police with tear gas at the scene.
Violent clashes erupting between police and protesters at the scene of the shooting that took place Friday morning in Paris. According to the prosecutor's office, a 69-year-old man opened fire at the Kurdish cultural center. He had previously been arrested for attacking a migrant camp. Video from the scene now appears to show hundreds of demonstrators in narrow streets with police visibly outnumbered. Vanessa Locatera, ABC News, Paris.
And a major scene there continuing with police making arrests. You're listening to ABC News.
Governor Mike DeWine and other officials are urging Ohioans to limit travel as the Buckeye State faces a major winter storm. High winds and blowing snow likely to cause problems on Ohio's roadways this morning. ODOT workers are treating state routes and interstates, but the effectiveness of those treatments may be limited. DeWine is reminding motorists that salt and brine solutions are significantly less effective during very cold temperatures. The 5-month-old baby abducted from Columbus earlier this week is now found safe. Police in Indianapolis have confirmed that Kasan Thomas was located outside a Papa John's restaurant yesterday evening in the Honda Accord he and his twin brother were in when the car was stolen from the Short North in Columbus Monday night. Officials did not locate the baby for several hours after suspect Nala Jackson was taken into custody, charged with kidnapping and other offenses. WXIN TV reports the vehicle may have been sitting in the pizza shop parking lot for around 2 days. Indianapolis authorities say Kassan appears to be in good health, but was taken to a local hospital to be evaluated. Kassan's twin brother, Kair, was found in a parking lot at Dayton International early Tuesday morning. The investigation continues today into a deadly explosion in Portage Lakes. One person was killed when a home on West Long Lake Boulevard blew up around 3 p.m. Thursday. No other injuries were reported. And this is the time of year that a lot of people wind up in the ER, either due to hypothermia or issues related to snow shoveling. Dr. Tom Walters is an emergency room doctor at Cleveland Clinic. He tells us the symptoms of hypothermia.
Feeling very fatigued, exhausted, and then people tend to start to get confused. And that's where, you may not notice that you're feeling confused, but someone around you may notice that first.
That's when you should warm someone up as much as possible. As for snow shoveling, it's best to do it bit by bit and push the snow as opposed to lifting it. Another thing to remember is that you should always lift with your legs, not your back. I'm Rob Bailey.
We're a country of so many voices, yet some still struggle to be heard. Let your voice be heard. News Radio 570, WKBN.
From the Honda store in Boardman, home of 0 down, 0 due at signing, and 0 payments for 30 days.
Niles Cortland Road between Leffingwell Road and Fairground Boulevard is blocked due to fallen power cables, and watch for a crash on Route 11 northbound at Kirk Road. I'm John Crawford in the Total Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by the Cheesecake Factory. Give the gift of Cheesecake Factory. Through December 31st, get a free $15 bonus card for every $50 gift card purchased at thecheesecakefactory.com or at any of the Cheesecake Factory restaurants. Visit thecheesecakefactory.com for more details.
Weather brought to you by Mazda Heating and Cooling and Bryant, keeping you comfortable year-round.
Temperatures into the single digits heading into this afternoon with wind chills 20 to 30 below, winds gusting as high as 50 miles per hour. The chance for snow and blowing snow will continue tonight with an additional coating to up to 2 inches. Temperatures drop to near 2 below. With your Storm Team 27 forecast, I'm Alex George.
This report is sponsored by the Cheesecake Factory. Give the gift of Cheesecake Factory. Through December 31st, get a free $15 bonus card for every $50 gift card purchased at thecheesecakefactory.com or at any of the Cheesecake Factory restaurants. Visit thecheesecakefactory.com for more details.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Dan Rivers program. I am Joe Danyi, filling in for Dan for the rest of today. We got another hour left before we send you guys off to the weekend, and Dan will be coming back after the new year. Hope everybody is having a good morning so far, staying safe within the snow drifts and the wind and blowing. So just look out for each other, check in on some neighbors and be safe. I was just looking to see how our power outages are going here this morning. I saw reports that Austintown had a couple of transformers that blew. People woke up on a very cold day with no power. We are expecting a ton of wind over the next couple of days, so just be prepared. Make sure that you guys stockpile some stuff and are prepared in case that happens, to make sure everybody stays safe. And again, check in on your neighbors, especially those of you those that can't get out. Maybe shovel a couple driveways or stoops for people who don't have the ability to do that. I'm sure snow plows are going to be sort of busy, so look out for each other. That's the message here, is that when we are absolutely at our best when we get into a crisis of some kind and watch people do what they normally do or what they're programmed to do, which is connecting with other people. So 330-729-9977. You can call me or text me at 333-157. And I'll read your text messages over there on Facebook Live. They are just going back and forth. Not really much for me, but they're loving talking to one another. Somebody just mentioned that the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, they mentioned it, so I looked it up to see how that was doing. And media made it sound like we were at almost nothing and we were consuming a bunch. There's still, I think it was like 580 million barrels is where we were a year ago, and we're like at 370 million. So we've used some to buffer some of the prices out, but I don't think we're anywhere near. It's taken us a year to get to this level, so we've got a bunch left. So 330-729-9977. Let's go to John next. John, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Hey, Joe, figured this time of year it'd be good to give you a little bit of information on some well-known information on Jesus Christ that
a
lot of people don't know. There's actually a professor University of California, Berkeley, we celebrate Jesus' birthday on the 25th of December, but there's a good video on YouTube. About a half hour, he goes through all the dates in the timeline, and looks like September 22nd, he has calculated that very accurately. Another interesting thing is there's still people out there who think Jesus was a mythical person. And when you look at in history, most historical figures have 30 to 40 historical documents written about them. George Washington was one of the biggest. He had over 1,000. When you start looking into the history of Jesus without the Bible, you're approaching 5,000 documented historical histories of Jesus. And what's even more important is most people that are written about in history, it's people that liked them that wrote about them. Well, Jesus had people that liked him, he had people that hated him, and then he had a lot of like Roman historians that just wrote the facts down. And when they all kind of agree about the crucifixion, death, and resurrection, when you get all those different sources, that makes the history even more accurate. One other thing that people think is Jesus was all about love and turn the other cheek. But Jesus did get angry. There's this well-known story. He went through the temple. He formed a whip, drove people out. He called people names. The Pharisees were, he called them a brood of vipers. And so it's righteous anger. And another big one, he was a proponent of self-defense. He told his followers, when you go out in the world, sell your outer garments and buy a sword. And back then, a sword was like a 6 or 8 inch dagger. So he actually told them, you need self-defense when you're going town to town. So a lot of information out there that doesn't really seem to make it to the average person these days. And the main thing is the historicity of Jesus. He's one of the most well-known documented figures in all of human history.
All right, John, thank you so much for sharing that with us. This is the time of year is where the religious Super Bowl, we celebrate in the Christian holiday of Christmas. And so, it's one thing, it's really in our culture, especially in this area, the number of churches and the, sort of like the religious exposure and influence that we have here. So this is the season to check that kind of stuff out. If you're interested, you can find a church near you. And I'm telling you, we've got some great institutions that in our communities. So 330-729-9977. Let's go to Dick next. Dick, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Good morning.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How about you?
I'm doing good. I'm a loyal listener up there at KBN for years, buddy.
All right. Good to hear. I'm glad you're still with us.
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to tell you that my family, I grew up, they were from a little town up north, and I've always, Dad moved here in before, but I've always been a big fan of the Cleveland sports teams, as you know. We got the Browns down here, and the comeback of the Cleveland Indians and the Cavaliers, and I think we're blessed here in Southern Ohio. There's more fans, and I've always enjoyed the TV and radio people like Gib Shanley, Nev Chandler, going back to Joe Tate and Coletti. It's a good life, I'll tell you.
Now, how are the Browns backers down in Dayton? You got a good group of Browns fans?
Yeah, we did, but now we've got people that when I worked, there was a lady from Hinckley that used to give me stuff. We got a really good crowd down here, and it's nice. We used to get the games. I miss iHeartRadio doing the games. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, but I've been that way. I even call. You ever watch the End Zone show?
I've not.
That's good with Jimmy.
Okay.
And Jimmy Donovan, Tony Grossi, and Dion Cherry. It's pretty good. But I did. I think Ron a long time ago, but I was asking maybe your producer. Do you guys have any sweatshirts around?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so. No.
Yeah, but so I just wanted to wish you Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. It's a pleasure.
All right. Thanks, Dick. I appreciate you being out there. Appreciate you checking in, representing the Cleveland Browns down in Dayton. So hope you guys have a nice Christmas and a good holiday. Let's go next to Emmanuel. Emmanuel, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Well, I wanted to call and tell you thank you, but first of all, following him is this guy. Your last caller is on. Everybody knows him. Everybody knows him. He's been calling for a long time. And Dick, Emmanuel says, "Merry Christmas to you and yours." And next time you're on the stage, say, "This is for a guy from Ohio, Warren, Ohio." Emmanuel, play a song for me.
There you go.
And
nice.
the second thing is, I'm really laughing because they're talking about Jesus arming people. I'm thinking, yeah, I guess Daniel needed a sword when he was with those lions or Meshach and those guys when they were in the fire. They cut their way out. Okay, so that's all I got to say. But what I want to tell you is this, right? It's kind of sad. I want to thank you for the last three days that you've been on. I've heard things that I really truly agree with, gave you a standing ovation. I've heard things that made my hair catch on fire. And all through it, you've been you, even though I think that you're not an old-time libertarian. I think you're one of those newer libertarians, because the old-time libertarians, they would have said a long time ago, because they were there when Mom Bell got broken up. They would say that a long time ago about the food packing industry, like Tyson and those, like a couple of people, and you look at every industry, it's really consolidated. So a true libertarian is not happy about that. But I want to thank you for letting people speak their mind, right? And I will say this. There is no hatred. I don't think anybody's my enemy. We can disagree. You can hate me, but we're still Americans. That's the thing that makes us so great. And you have brought that out in me again, and you gave me faith. So I don't know. Merry Christmas, man. Thank you.
All right, Emmanuel, thank you so much. You're a good friend. I appreciate you calling the show. Those are kind words. And I put things sometimes through the Emmanuel filter because I always want to make sure that I go on the side of fairness. And so I take it used to be a strategy in business where I'd pick my biggest detractor and I'd put him in the same room. And that imaginary person would always sit there and keep me honest to make sure that I worked harder than I otherwise would, because they kept me in check from doing the wrong thing. And so I invent really good people that I like, that I hold in a lot of esteem, to be my Jiminy Cricket, to kind of speak truth to me. Now, the thing is, I think that as a whole, we have to get far better at listening to things that, as Emmanuel said, catch your hair on fire. Because the thing is, when you have free and open exchange, you're going to come into contact with stuff that maybe you don't like, or maybe is a little confrontational. But the civil part of our ability, the adaptability to be able to take differing personalities and differing, philosophies, and being able to put in the same room is like, here's the thing. We're going to be different, and I'm going to control me, and you're going to control you. And we're going to be fine as long as we don't try to control each other. I can persuade you, but it's not my job to coerce you. And I think, the government that I want, it doesn't have the ability to force people to do things. It has ability to give information to those people to make good decisions. It can urge people to do certain things by same thing through marketing, but to be able to control people is where tyranny. So I am that sort of like my own flavor of libertarianism, where I have a lot of ideals that come from the Republican side. I have a lot of ideals that come from taking care of people on the very liberal side. And because I'm allowed to pick what I believe in and what I think is better for myself and my family and my community, I don't have to be beholden to one or the other side. And there's immense power in not joining a team. Yes, you're on your own island where you get to be misunderstood and you get criticism from every side, but I can handle that kind of stuff. But it's the words that Emmanuel has that gives me sort of the inspiration, it gives me the motivation to stay and take the harder path, because I know that there's at least recognition that some people can kind of see the fact that sometimes I disagree with you, so I must be the villain. And it's hard when you're reasonable. It's hard to cast a reasonable person into that, into that category. So thank you so much for saying that. 330-729-9977. Joe, please tell us you'll be hosting next week. No, and once a very wise person says that Joe is good in small doses, and so I have to retreat and then let you get back to your normal thing, because you can't always have this version of it. I'm chaos. I'm entropy. I love the fact that I can be the disruptor, but you guys need some order when I walk away. Let the real professional host put Humpty Dumpty back together again, so the conversation can go forward. And then every once in a while, I'll come in and I'll be, that little substitute teacher, and we get to go wild a little bit. So thank you for that, and I'll take that as a compliment. So thank you.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I just wanted to let people know, yes, next week we have no live programming through here except for YSU basketball games. Everything is going to be iHeart ran. So 3 to 7, of course, we have Ryan Gorman, and we're going to have different select stuff during this, this time segment. Everybody will be back January 3rd, and we'll be back to normal. But yes, next week is pretty. We won't have any call-in shows next week.
All right. Beautiful. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. 330-729-9977. This texter says, so Jesus was lost, his mind in the temple. What did he do following that? Your caller, Jesus, must be a different Jesus than mine. I don't know how we got on this topic. But people really don't like when Christian religion, other religions are okay, but people take exception when Christian influence is there. And I think I love when things poke at me, like it create conflict in me. So because I have my best thoughts when I'm provoked into those thoughts, and I think Christianity does a whole lot of bringing out things within your mind that's better for humanity. I really do. So I don't know enough about it. I'm not any kind of I'm not any kind of expert in religion, but anyway, Joe, I appreciate the discourse you facilitated this week. Also, thank you for not doing regular text censoring. The echo chamber was not missed. You're very welcome. And I try to read them all. My wife cautions me that some of the ones that I read that were better left off the air. She can't believe that I actually read it because they're not complimentary. Usually people will read stuff that, is complimentary, but I like it all because it's real. Like I go literally down the list and just read everything that, everything that you guys wrote in, because it matters to me what you think. And the repetitive ones I skip sometimes, but for the most part, I try to get what your words are. It's equal to the phone calls. So, and let's see, that was already read. Joe, you aren't chaos. An echo chamber is chaos. I would say chaos, meaning that I divert the regular flow of things, the energy that allows us to communicate and think a little bit differently. I think it's so good for us to know that there's a different way of talking about it, where I have no hatred for anybody. I'm going to say some stuff that you don't agree with and might even piss you off a little bit, but it's not a personal thing. It's not a political thing. It's I get curious about stuff, and I follow these logical pathways to see if I can dig up more data on the stuff that I don't know anything about. I don't claim to be an expert. I don't claim to know any more than you do, but I do know that I probably don't know enough, and I want to know more. So 330-729-9977. Phone callers, we'll take your call as soon as we get back from this break. You're listening to the Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Youngstown Computer. At-home computers need attention too. Bring your machine in for a tune-up or upgrade. YoungstownComputer.com. The Valley's technology company. Call us 330-259-7278.
Some things can wait. Decorating for the holidays. Shopping. Hey, there's always next day delivery. But if you're 50 or older or live with a chronic condition, untreated COVID could be deadly. And if you don't get treatment within days, you might not be able to. So, got COVID symptoms? Talk to a doctor and get treatment right away, because it just can't wait. We can do this. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Want to get 7 streaming services for the price of 1? Sign up for a smart bundle that'll stimulate your brain. Featuring Curiosity Stream with the best documentary films and TV shows. Nebula for thought-provoking content from your favorite creators. And One Day University with the best lectures from the country's top professors. And so much more. It's perfect for families with all kinds of interests. And great content for kids. It also makes a perfect holiday gift. Now at 40% off, get all 7 services for only $3.50 a month. Sign up now at smartbundle.com.
Hey, what sounds better after a tough day on the job? Running errands? Working hard? Nothing. Fast-acting support is what you need, and that's what you get from Sapphire Essentials. A local CBD company will help support you and your body and heal naturally. Their CBD balm and CBD cooling gel really works. Stop in, see Dr. Jim Collins, and get expert advice on CBD. I've known Jim a long time. I love Sapphire Essentials, and you will too. 1975 East Western Reserve Road, Poland. Hey, while we're talking, this is Dan Rivers. Armstrong now has new internet fiber going in McDonald and Austintown. This means internet speeds are going to be up to 10 gigabyte. Armstrong always has free customer service and 24/7 phone and chat from their headquarters in Butler, and there's no bulky set-top boxes. There's Armstrong internet, phone, television, and no fine print. And nice to know they have an office right here in North Lima to handle all customer needs. And great local channels like Bottom Line Sports, Loose Change, Summer Concerts, and much more. Armstrong is local. Hi, folks. This is Dan Rivers. Did you see this? Now 75 years, Gem Young Wealth Advisors has been doing business with families and businesses in our area. As a family-owned, multi-generational business, they believe clients want professional advice at a fair value. This is accomplished by leveraging their reputation of professionalism, integrity, teamwork, and a get-it-right-done the first-time attitude. Their team believes in making a difference in their clients' lives by providing security and peace of mind with offices in Canfield, East Liverpool, and Alliance. Gem Young, a proud representative of Grange Insurance.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Go to 4hims.com/joy. At Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation and discreet shipping if prescribed. You'll love your results. To start your free online visit, go to 4hims.com/joy. That's FORHIMS.com/JOY.
All right, I got your Storm Team 27 forecast. We got 0 degrees here on Friday, 100% chance of snow. And then we've got Saturday, the high of 0 degrees. That's just crazy to me. Anyway, Saturday, high of 7, chance of snow showers, 40%, and then 14 degrees on Sunday, 40% chance of snow. And it is -1 here in good old Youngstown, Ohio. John just reported from the outside is that it is just wind is blowing and it's bitter cold out there. So stay safe, everyone. 330-729-9977. Let's go next to our phone calls. Line 1, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Hello?
Hi.
This is Robert. Okay, look, I'm Gilly, man. But look, I got 3 things. I'm sorry. Hey, first of all, I want to tell Happy New Year and Happy Christmas to everybody. 2, I want to say thank you for that woman that spoke about, the Black Lives Matter burning. And then the third one, please, people, don't say, here we go, brownies, here we go. It just doesn't sound, it sounds feminine. Will you please say, here we go, browns?
All right. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Have a good Christmas. And here we go, Browns.
Hey,
go Browns.
Here we go, brownies. Here we go.
See? Love it. 330-729-9977. Thank you for that phone call. Appreciate it. Emmanuel is a continuing source of inspiration. Yes, one of my favorite callers here. I want to meet him someday. I want to sit down and maybe kick back some adult beverages and talk some philosophy, because I think he'd just be such a good dude to talk to in person. So I hope thank you for that comment. Does anyone else watching on Facebook see the funny irony of Emmanuel talking of hair on fire and seeing okay, yes, I have no hair. No, I'm a baldy, and I have a full beard though, so I make up what I lack on top with underneath the chin. And so, but thank you over there on Facebook for judging my bald headedness. I appreciate that comment. 330-729-9977. This is what we learned from you reading the entirety of texts. The texts are making it through, and regular hosts only air the texts that are complimentary to them or perpetuate the echo chamber narrative. This is an indictment of integrity and truthfulness. I guess, I don't know. Text messages are, I think, for me as a host, is a good outlet because it gives me another incoming, a tool, right? And some of the hosts probably use the text as a proxy, where I have a tablet that shows all the text. Some of the hosts do not. And so some of those main ones they might be filtered down through somebody else. I don't know. And I don't have a host here to ask them how they use text, but it's just another tool in their arsenal. But I appreciate all of you, regardless of what all the hosts do. That I appreciate all of you and how you communicate in with me and share what's important with you. And even if I disagree with you, I think it's important that, if it's part of the conversation, I'm willing to have it. But it's already hard enough to do a talk show and talk for 3+ hours, a day, coming up with content that is, unique and interesting for the listeners. And so you think of like a talk show host as being a DJ. They pick out their playlist going into the day, and sometimes they don't have time for requests, right? And so that's the only cover fire I'll lay down for the other hosts, is that everybody has their thing, and I'm not going to question it. They've been doing these hosting duties for longer than I've been around. So I appreciate, and I appreciate their skill, but thank you for that message anyhow. 330-729-9977. I'll continue to take calls going into the next break. You still got a half hour with me and to get through the rest of those topics. And you can also text me at 333-1570. So we'll be right back. This is the Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN.
When you want the best in residential and commercial roofing, reach for the sky with Sky Roofing, celebrating 20 years in business. Sky Roofing has been providing Ohio and surrounding states with high-quality expertise and customer service. Commercial to residential, installation to restoration, shingle roofs to downspouts and siding. We bring our experience and skill to jobs of all sizes. Sky Roofing, 330-702-8000.
The Venture X card from Capital One gives you premium travel benefits, perfect for seeing Taylor Swift The Eras Tour. Presented by Capital One. Oh, I do love her. Earn 5 times miles on flights and 10 times miles on hotels through Capital One Travel.
Enjoy your stay in Suite 13.
Whoa, 13? That's Taylor's lucky number. The Venture X card from Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Oh, look, it's Santa!
That's close enough. I don't have much to offer you anyway. I mean, how can I compete with news, information, and enough opinions to choke a reindeer?
You provide the best gift anybody could ever give.
The gift that keeps giving
Every day.
year round.
I just appreciate you. There's no better gift that you can get me.
570 WKBN.
The winter storm barreling across the country has left a string of problems, from pileups to dangerous whiteout and icy conditions, bitter sub-zero temperatures, and flight cancellations. ABC's Alex Stone has more.
Well, the Midwest and East have gotten much of the attention because of the giant storm crossing the country. Ice in Seattle is now an even bigger problem for air travel. Quickly, Seattle has overtaken every other airport in the world to have the most canceled flights, beating New York's LaGuardia. The runways in Seattle on this busy travel day are too slippery with ice.
More than 3,700 flights have been canceled nationwide so far. In Paris, protesters clashing with police today following a shooting attack at a Kurdish cultural center and nearby businesses. 3 others were injured. Police say the suspect is a 69-year-old who is known to authorities. House lawmakers set to take up the $1.7 trillion spending bill today. That vote needed today to avert a government shutdown. The Senate passed the measure yesterday. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
And we have breaking news.
Keep up.
Breaking news.
Breaking news with what happens next.
Issue executive orders.
Push through his agenda.
On 570 WKBN.
Weather brought to you by Mazda Heating and Cooling and Bryant, keeping you comfortable year-round.
Temperatures into the single digits heading into this afternoon, with wind chills 20 to 30 below, winds gusting as high as 50 miles per hour. The chance for snow and blowing snow will continue tonight, with an additional coating to up to 2 inches. Temperatures drop to near 2 below. With your Storm Team 27 forecast, I'm Alex George.
This report is sponsored by the Cheesecake Factory. Give the gift of Cheesecake Factory. Through December 31st, get a free $15 bonus card for every $50 gift card purchased at thecheesecakefactory.com or at any of the Cheesecake Factory restaurants. Visit thecheesecakefactory.com for more details.
The music we listen to all year long. The anthems that were our soundtrack for 2022. And the stars who made the songs we love will all be celebrated March 27th, live from Los Angeles.
Let's get it started.
Get ready for our 2023 iHeartRadio Music Awards. Coming back to Fox.
If you are looking for the finest Mediterranean foods prepared fresh daily, then Go Zane's Bakery has many healthy, ready-to-eat deli options. We offer a variety of delicious items, including hummus, tabbouleh, grape leaves, kibbe, shanklish, orzo, quinoas, and much, much more. Proudly serving the Tri-County area with stores in Boardman, Canfield, and Niles for over 50 years. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or check us out at GoZanesBakery.com.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Dan Rivers Show. I am Joe Danyi, your host, and we're talking about things that you normally talk about, but little different angle. You have me here today, so substitute teacher will let you get away with a little bit more stuff. Say your piece online, and it's important because this station is a megaphone of opinion where you can come here and regardless of anybody agreeing with you or not, you have a chance to say what's on your mind and try to influence those who are listening. So 330-729-9977. The Emmanuel inspiration text was from a South Park joke. Thank you for clearing up that my sense of humor is degraded through text messaging. So you have to almost put either sarcasm tags or joke tags or something like that to give me a little bit more of a lead in that you're telling a joke or it needs to be funny. You see, it's very monotone at this point because logical brain's in control. They have been doing it for a very long time. On that, we agree. And so, yeah, I mean, honestly, like I said, filling 5 days a week, hours a day, talking about things that are going on. Just like we talked about Alex George this morning about the weather. For the most part, weather's kind of boring from the day to day, but every once in a while you get to those Super Bowl days where you have topics that you can talk about and are interesting and draw people in. And like even when, can you remember like DeWine was on every day at like noon and everybody would watch the governor? When's the last time since all of that happened that you're like, man, I really wish the governor would talk a little bit more? So that was the Super Bowl of the governorship when you had the whole attention of the state every single day for updates. And same thing with the guys like Fauci and these servants. So these public servants, they get attention, and they have these Super Bowl days where everybody cares what they have to say. And then we can't give our attention to these people all the time, so we got to go back and filter out new people. So I appreciate you guys spending this week with me. It's probably one of my favorite moments of the 3 days that I was on. We got to talk to Tim, and this was from White Glove Payroll. He had coined Voltage Valley. So he thought of the branding and he came up with Voltage Valley, and he's a big proponent of the innovations in our area. Now it was great to talk to another person who had belief in the future ahead of us. Because there's a lot of people that are only looking within the next 10 minutes. There's people are scared and they're afraid and they don't see hope, so they're looking at with their headlights pointed like 10 inches in front of them, so they can't see the long-term stuff. But I like when every once in a while when you run into a long-term person who's giving up the next 6 inches of comfort to be able to push us towards the things that are further on down the line, because you can be more highly critical with people who are further down the line, because those are our believers and our dreamers and whatever. And it's cool to know that those people are in our community. And I want to do more to enable the people that have that tighter vision that's longer term, and give them a reason to keep dreaming, using the utility of our area to make those things manifest and come true. I'd love to see kids stay here and practice their genius here in the valley, then go to other markets and other people taking advantage of that genius. When we created it here, we got the work ethic here, we got everything here. So it was cool to listen to another dreamer there for a couple minutes. 330-729-9977. Let's go to Jake next. Jake, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Hey, Joe, help me by spreading the blessings of Christmas all around, especially to those people who don't agree, right? Who we differ with and we might be bickering with throughout the rest of the year. So if you could help me do that.
Absolutely, for sure.
And as people are still, from your text messages and such, they're still thinking about quote unquote lies. And I would just like to remind them that Joe Biden is the president that has cancer and will cure cancer. In addition, multiple times he said, talking about Iraq and the wars and everything, and he said, that's where my son Bo died, in Iraq. And just my little research, that might not be true. But trying to help each other and work together and everything. And while the federal government might not be doing the best job at the border, and I'll tell you what, I talked to my sister in Dallas this morning, and it's 11 degrees there. And just imagine those poor people coming over the border and it being 11 degrees, and we're running out of space to put them, right? We can't do everything. Nobody can do everything. We can't do everything. But what they were doing in Arizona as a state to protect their border was putting some storage containers out. So the people had to go around them and come to a more central point where they might be entering the country illegally. And the federal government, the Biden administration, sued them to take down these storage containers. And part of the reasoning was environmental. And I'm thinking, wow, has Joe Biden, has Kamala Harris, has nobody driven out west lately and seen the acres and acres of solar panel fields, right? It's they just go on seemingly forever. And if these solar panel fields are not hurting the environment, why would the storage containers that are 45 foot long, 53 foot long, why would they be hurting the environment?
So, okay, I got a question for you, and I'm going to change the subject a little bit, because I think there's a lot of passion behind, the immigration process and problem. So, why do we have such an aversion to solving such, I think, would be a solvable problem?
Yeah. That's a person, I guess, a question for a person with a higher pay grade than mine, because I say, look, can we do this orderly, right? Can we do it kind of the way the laws on the books say it should be done? Or should it just be whatever you want to do, right? We had the things where you had to seek asylum in the next country you come to. So, okay, you leave Argentina, okay, and you go to Chile, and you don't want to do it there, okay, and you move on to Ecuador, and you move on to Colombia, and you move on to Panama, you move on to Guatemala, and finally you reach Mexico, which might be, a lot more stable than those other countries, but you still don't have to do it there. You have to get to the U.S., and I think we can look at those people's point and, hey, I want to get there, and there's free stuff there, right? Today, 40% of babies born in California on California's Medicaid are illegal aliens, right? It is a money thing. It is a free money thing.
Well, when you were telling the story with the shipping containers, what I thought you were going to say was they arranged these shipping containers, and they or funneled people to a place where they can legally enter, where they can be documented, and so they found a way to be able to deal with the incoming traffic. I did not expect you to say, well, the problem was the containers, and let's get rid of that and just have people pouring in. I mean, a little disappointing.
Well, I mean, that's exactly. I guess it's right now. Governor Ducey's point is to let's have some kind of orderly passage here, right? And for the people who are not allowed to come in because they might be, bad actors or diseased or whatever, right? Our laws say you can't come in. So if we do it that way, wouldn't that be better for everybody? And we could put our resources to a better purpose to doing it that way, rather than running across this whole giant expanse of the southern border of Arizona. So I am saying that.
Right.
I am saying that it would make it more orderly, and without our laws, right, throw everything out the window, right? We become San Francisco now as a country, and without our borders, well, we're not a country anymore. That's just the way it works. Everybody else in the world has it. Why is Mexico's laws for immigration stricter than ours? And we're not yelling at them. But what they do is just pass the people through. Hey, you want to get to the U.S.? Yeah, maybe we have some coyotes. Joe, how does it make you feel when every year we have a tractor trailer load of illegals come in and 53 of them die in the back of the tractor trailer? Doesn't that make you feel terrible?
It certainly does. And the children who are preyed upon in that process, the ones that die. I watched a big container get opened the other day, and when they opened a couple of the boards, there were like peering eyes out of there, and these were all children that came out of this container that were being smuggled into the States. It just breaks your heart.
It does, and I try to make sure that I don't say the Democrat voters, but the leftists that have infiltrated the Democrat Party of today. We used to have Jim Trafficant and all the people who seemingly, could play ball with everybody. And Daniel Patrick Moynihan. In the late 60s with Cesar Chavez and the United Farm Workers, they had Democrat senators on the border yelling about the illegal aliens coming in, right? What changed? Well, I think the Democrat Party changed, because you can look at our inner cities and the no bail, and we're not going to prosecute anybody, for quote unquote nonviolent crimes, but they're stealing up to $900 from a local business. The business can't survive. The big businesses that can have closed up shop and moved somewhere else. Right. What are you doing to society?
Right. All right, Jake, thank you so much. Appreciate you being out there. And, while these impossible conversations are happening, you have like real lives that are, people are dying and people are suffering. And so like you're managing it based on political strategy or whatever, the human portion of it, deteriorates and people suffer. And that's the part that I can't stomach. I would rather err on the side of people not suffering than to have, the political advantage be the priority in the conversation. And so like I was saying, if we started diverting, okay, so right now, if you take the standard of what is happening, if you just make something better, like better than it is today. So for instance, if you funneled people through an entryway and you put a tag on their arm so that we can keep track of them, and you didn't know their name or whatever, you made it's better that not knowing who was coming over there and not being able to track. If you just make these incremental changes that actually take the portions of it, it's not unreasonable to say if somebody comes through your border who's a drug trafficker or, bringing children who are who are being exploited, that's not unreasonable to do something to stop that from happening. But I don't think any of these things become an all or nothing game, where you're not going to have perfect way of securing your border without having some downside risk on people who really needed to, leave their country, and now they're going to suffer or die because of one of those policies. There are smart people in both of these, and to say that these smart people don't have a say in actually solving the problem means that when it stays in the political realm, everybody loses. Nobody gets what they want. People aren't saved from suffering, and you get the process doesn't get any better. So I appreciate your phone call. Thank you for chiming in. And let's go next off to James. James, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you? Hello, James. All right. Let's see. Next is Dave. Dave, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Yeah, I called the other day. You didn't know what Title 42 was. It was enacted back in 1942 to keep disease out of our country, and I told you that. For a guy that's on the radio and such a smart computer guy, really probably don't listen to the news. If you listen to the news enough, you know that it's treasonous what they're doing. You need a passport to go from country to country if you ever traveled. And now you're sitting here saying that, well, you don't like people to suffer. Well, as long as you keep that border open, people are going to suffer. They will come. They will come, and they will suffer. So you either close the border and make it legal, because these politicians aren't doing the people's work. They're doing what they want to do. The rich, most Democrats, most Republicans are all rich people to afford to get into a position of the Congress or the Senate. And it's disgusting what they're doing to the common people. Just like what you were saying about the robberies, $900. Gavin Newsom is a dirtbag. Nancy Pelosi's a dirtbag. They don't do as they say. They do as they want. And I'll leave it at that. Until they change that, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they are committing treason at the border to the American people. Period.
All right, Dave, thanks for being out there and sharing your words with us. And the reason I, am disconnected from things like this is because I don't have a personal control. I am an observer just like you are. And there's nothing that I can do on my daily to make that better. Nobody's asking for my opinion. So I'm not like adding to the arsenal of what I know about a topic that I'm not going to be personally invested in. I am going to be personally invested in people of our community and building businesses and whatever. So that's where I'm putting my time. Now, the opinion of, and like I said, this is a very novice's observation of it. The process is stupid and it's not making any progress. And so to say close it down, that's not happening because of the people that are in control of it. So just saying it doesn't make it be closed down. But the observation of people suffering is happening, and that's the part that we need to do, even if we have to err on the side of humanity before politics. And that's basically have been my principle from the very beginning. People first, and then when you get down to it, policies follow. 330-729-9977. Let's go to Ron. Ron, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Yes, sir. I'd just like to ask you, in the 50 years that Biden been in office, what has he really proven? What has he really done? Can you tell me?
I'm not sure. I don't have a checklist of things that Biden has done. I know he used a lot of executive orders in order to get some legislative policies that haven't been able to get through. Those are the ones that I've noticed, but I know that was probably rhetorical, and your point is noted. So thank you for calling in. I appreciate it. We're going to take another break. I'm going to come back. I know your text messages have come through. I'll check up on that. And Bill, I see your call out there, so I make sure that I will come back and respond to that. Joe, as far as Fauci goes, I'm sure he's intelligent, but an intelligent weasel is still a weasel. But I would like to still get beyond the weasel part and still be able to take advantage of all of that expertise that he garnered all of those years. Intelligent people, if we could just take the genius out of them and use them without making them into the political weasel that you mentioned, that's my priority. So 330-729-9977. We'll take a break. We'll come back. This is the Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Hi there. I'm getting paid to talk to you, and yet I'm the most boring person I know. Isn't that unfair? Yes, it is. Of course, you could join me. Just start a podcast with Spreaker from iHeart. If you've got something to say, they'll help you monetize it. And I bet you've got more to say than I do. I have literally nothing to say, and I'm loving life. Spreaker.com. That's Spreaker.com. Get paid to talk.
Hi, friends. This is Dan Rivers. Have you envisioned yourself behind the wheel of a Cadillac? If so, head to Columbiana Cadillac, downtown Columbiana, and check out their lineup. The Cadillac models in stock include the Cadillac CT4, the CT5, the XT4, the XT5, the XT6, and the Escalade. But honestly, folks, inventory doesn't last all that long. So if you have an expiring lease or you want to replace that current model, Cadillac Financial has some great programs for you right now. Now, if you're not in the market for a brand new Cadillac, but you still see yourself driving a Cadillac, that's okay. Columbiana Cadillac has an extensive inventory of certified pre-owned Cadillacs to choose from. Lots of great choices. Stop in and visit my friends at Columbiana Cadillac in downtown Columbiana. You'll find the largest Cadillac inventory in the area. It's the place that I buy my vehicles. Check them out at ColumbianaCadillac.com or call them 888-CADILLAC. That's 1-888-CADILLAC.
At Classic Real Estate, we know that this is the most wonderful time of the year with the excitement of families gathering together for the holidays, which means you might not be thinking about selling or even buying a home. And that's okay. At Classic Real Estate, we hope you'll just enjoy the holidays. But after the new year, if you're in the market, please know we'll be right here ready to assist you with all your buying and selling needs. From the Classic Real Estate family to your family, have a blessed holiday.
Listen to this message from Columbiana Ford. We have been under new ownership for a year. There have been some bumps in the road, but now we have a full staff of Ford-trained techs, a new Ford store starting to be built in October, and a no-wait service center. Hundreds of new and used vehicles available right now. Call today. Book an appointment online at ColumbianaFord.com or stop by 14851 South Avenue in Columbiana. Columbiana Ford, always putting you first.
The Venture X card from Capital One gives you premium travel benefits, perfect for seeing Taylor Swift the Eras Tour. Presented by Capital One. Oh, I do love her. Earn 5 times miles on flights and 10 times miles on hotels through Capital One Travel.
Enjoy your stay in Suite 13.
Whoa, 13? That's Taylor's lucky number. The Venture X card from Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Have you wondered about ESH investing? Tune in Sunday, 10 a.m. on 570 WKBN to Your Money with Leo Duprilli as he speaks with special guest Timothy Miller. Tim is the product manager from AllianceBernstein's Sustainable Thematic Portfolios. Leo and Tim will talk ESG investing and how you can make your investment choices reflect your environment, social, and governance beliefs.
iHeartRadio's 'Twas the Night Before Christmas podcast is here, just in the St. Nick of time, and in immersive 3D audio, bringing you closer to the story than ever before. Featuring John Bon Jovi, Elton John, Santa Claus, and more.
'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse.
Grab your headphones, open the free iHeartRadio app, and enjoy the timeless Christmas classic read by your favorites on one of the most magical nights of the year. Download the free iHeartRadio app for all the music, radio, and podcasts you love this holiday season.
All right, I got your Storm Team 27 forecast. We got a high today of 0 degrees, and tonight's low will be 15. 100% chance of snow showers. It's going to be windy and cold, so bundle up. Saturday, we got a high of 7, low of 4. Chance of snow showers, 40% chance. And then Sunday, we got a high of 14, low of 5, and 40% chance of snow showers as well. It is -2 here in good old Youngstown, Ohio. Let's go to our last phone call here. Let's go to Bill. Bill, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
So I respect your opinion on what you do for the community. But I have to tell you, your simplistic, idealistic viewpoint does not work. It is not a utopia. And as far as your opinion not having any weight, you're on one of the most powerful media organizations in the northeastern Ohio area. So your opinion carries a lot. So you say you're not being asked for it, but you're willing to put it out there. Now, the people that are coming over to this country are not running and suffering. They are paying and empowering the cartel and giving them authority over our government, and then we're responding by feeding and providing transportation for literally an invasion. Because when you look at these people coming across the border, they're well-dressed, they're paying thousands of dollars to get here, we're giving them food, we're giving them transportation, and we're telling our people, and I do believe the president is treasonous right now, because he is actively telling our law enforcement to not enforce the laws. And anybody else that would be doing that should be arrested and put in chains. Now, as far as you're suffering, yes, some people are suffering. There will always be people suffering. And I am in favor of helping people suffering. But the people that are going to suffer in the long term are the American people, because we are losing. We are being watered down. The people that in America that have earned the privilege to be here and have worked for the privilege to be here and have supported this nation are the ones that are being expected to support these people, 140 out of 180 countries in the world. And that is not fair to the American people. And when you have a house that is having trouble supporting itself, the last thing you do is go in and invite 20 other people to support. Because all that does is enforce suffering on the people that are in that house.
All right, Dave, thank you so much. And it is noted. I love the passion in your voice, and you're right. And I think we can do both. We can enforce the laws that keeps and protects citizens safe from an invasion across the border, law breaking across the border. At the same time, when there are people that are suffering, that we pay attention to those people that are either on purpose putting themselves in harm's way or being taken and put in harm's way against their will. There's still human beings behind it. So I like I said, I like the passion in your voice, and I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I'm just voicing the fact that people are always first in my book, but it's totally noted. And I don't disagree with you that you do have to have laws. But anyway, I appreciate your phone call. And this is just about the end of the show today. And I really hope that all of you have a great Christmas. Thank you for allowing me to come on the air. It's truly an honor to be able to sit in the seat and do this for the last couple of days. And I appreciate iHeart for inviting me to do it, and you guys for listening. I really appreciate and have a lot of respect for the callers that frequent this station. So again, have a great weekend. Have a great Christmas, everyone. And we'll see you next time. This has been the Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN.